Call to order Town of St. John Board of Zoning Appeals for April 18th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you please have a roll call?
Bob Burleson.
Here.
John Kennedy. Here. Drago Popovic.
Here.
Brendan Sheeran.
Here.
And Mark LaRue.
Here.
We also have Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak.
Present.
And Town Manager Joe Wizawati.
Here.
Thank you, Sergio. Next on the agenda is election of officers. At this point, we'll take a...
I'll make a motion to make Mark LaRue president of the BZA.
I'll second that.
Chairman, not president.
I'm sorry, chairman.
I'll second that.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. So now we've got vice chair. I nominate John Kennedy.
You can't make a motion from president.
Can I?
No.
Okay.
No.
I nominate John Kennedy.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Who else we got? Secretary?
Yes. Yes.
I'll make a motion for Brendan to be secretary.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
The only thing that saved you is he made a motion for me.
Okay. Next on the agenda are minutes. We've got quite a few here. Mr. Decker, do we have to go through each one individually, or can we do them as a group?
I suggest that if you do them as a group, that you read the dates of each of the meetings as part
Okay.
of the motion. I don't think you have to do them and vote on them separately, but do identify each of the dates.
Okay. There's a couple that I wasn't present, so, I mean, that's why I asked. There's a couple, I think most, or everyone else, besides Mr. Burleson, wasn't here because he's a new member of the board. So did everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
I've read them, and to my knowledge, they all look accurate
Okay.
to my recollection.
Minutes in question, April 19th, 2021, May 17th, 2021, June 21st, 2021, July 29th, 2021, August 16th, 2021, November 8th, 2021, and December 20th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, as you read them, I'll make a motion to approve, noting that it is July 19th, 2021.
What did I say?
29.
I'm sorry, July 19th, 2021. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm going to abstain.
Abstain? Thank you. So those are complete. Next on the agenda, public hearings. The first is developmental variance for St. John MC 24-555, B6 to replace existing site sign with electric message center illumination name topper at 9450 Wicker Avenue, Lake County Public Library. John Brock, agent. Mr. Brock, are you present? Care to tell us what your plan is?
Well, our plan is to take the existing sign that's there on Wicker Avenue for the St. John Public Library and update it to where it's has an electronic message board, and then also has a topper on the top that says St. John Branch Library. And we'd like to be able to have a sign that we can talk about different things that are happening at the library, children's programs or adult programming, or maybe new services that the library is offering, those sorts of things.
What's the dimensions of this sign you're proposing? I don't see it in here. Oh, is that it right there? Okay.
18 by 9.
Sorry, I thought that was just the message on the board, so.
It's gonna rest on the same base and things that's there currently, so it's pretty much, in a general sense, fitting within the existing framework of what's there currently.
Okay.
So you're just adding the 18 by 90 sign,
Yeah, I think that's the top.
the
or
top one,
Top thing up there.
yeah.
So the current, with the replacement sign being electronic, it's gonna be the same size as the current library sign, is what you're telling us?
Well, I see there, it looks like the existing says it's 32 and a
So it's a little
half,
bit larger.
and One's 36, so, but those electronic things, they're in certain
Dimensions, I get that.
dimensions, so I think 36 was the closest they had to what was existing.
What is, Sergio, please remind me, the limitations that we have on the,
50 square feet is the maximum signage
50 square
permitted.
feet?
Correct. This falls below the 50 square feet with both signs combined.
So we're gonna exceed that by how much?
We're not going to exceed
This
it.
could be the same?
It,
Okay.
it fits, it's less than the 50 square feet minimum
Okay.
requirement for signage.
Okay, thank you. As far as the illumination itself, are we going to have different colors? Going to be black and white? What's the plan?
It has different colors,
Okay.
like the ones that you see. There's one close by there. I mean, there are all these watch fire signs. They have one at the St. John at the school there. They have one, and then I think I noticed one over maybe at Dairy Queen, kind of across the road there. There's one. Those are the two closest that I saw.
I guess I don't pay attention to, I know the high school one, but I don't, as far as that's a different situation entirely.
Most of them they do now are have the colors. I think
SJ's
some of the
got a
ones
color
from
one.
the past were tended to be just one color.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Brock, is this same information that's on your digital display, is it on your webpage?
Information that's on the digital display.
Yeah, could it be currently found on your website that you're going to display on this digital board?
I don't think I don't. You mean the same thing that's
Well,
on,
like the programs, are they on your website?
some of them would be.
Would this adversely affect your business at the library if you did not get the variance for this digital sign?
Well, I think it would. I think that we will reach. I think we've found, like we have a sign on US 30 in front of the library at Maryville, and we put different things up there. And I think that we reach people, not everyone, that's going to maybe think about coming to the library or coming to a program is necessarily going to be on the website or the website for the branch. And we're thinking, just kind of like anyone else, that we want to reach as many people as we can, and that this would be a way to reach maybe additional people to come to the library.
And
Maybe
you make a great comment. Everybody would want to have a digital display. And I guess as I evolve on this board, my concern is, this is sort of the heart of our downtown. If you would say St. John has a downtown. And now if you request for a digital board, every business now, how do we determine who gets a digital sign? And is that the feel that we would want in our unofficial downtown in St. John, that everybody has a digital display?
Well, I'd like to think that maybe, at least where, I mean, our interest is maybe not so much that, I'm not against capitalism, but I mean, some people might just want to, sell dog food or ice cream cones or something like that, and that's okay. But I mean, I'd like to think that we're trying to make an announcement about something that maybe would, encourage children to, come in and learn something more about reading or advancing themselves, or something that, maybe we have a little higher motive. So maybe you would take that under consideration as to why we might want one. Maybe we'd have a little greater thought. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's part of your responsibility as a board, is to make those determinations as to whether it's, needed or not needed.
No, and your cause is worthwhile. You're a public entity, and you're trying to provide education and community support. My concern is just, as we I don't know if every petition is unique, right? Digital board. We've approved them in the past, within the last year. But now, if, you know, your digital board, what if Mighty Mike's, what if J&M Golf, what if all these businesses now, north of 93rd, want a digital display? We don't have much guidance in our ordinance, other than it comes before this board to make that determination. It'd be nice if there was more guidance in our ordinance to sort of say, digital boards are either not allowed, except for unique special exceptions. So I'm just trying, as I evolve, is wondering if digital displays up and down 41 is the right thing for the town of St. John.
I mean, myself as an individual, I mean, I notice the places that I go when I see those signs, I like them because they tell me something. I mean, and you know, whether it's banks telling me what their interest rate is, or you know, somebody's. I mean, the information I think is good information. So I mean, that's my opinion personally. I think this all the signs I've seen have been useful to me. But
No, I appreciate the comments. Thank you, sir.
My one concern with that, having a digital sign there too, is just that corridor is so busy at this point, and I mean, all the time. And adding one more distraction to drivers really in that area where we've had lots of accidents in front of your step with the library and so forth, up and down the corridor from 93rd all the way down to 97th. We see accidents all the time because people are distracted driving. They drive, first of all, too fast in town most places. But to add that additional signage there, I'm just thinking, is it going to cause more distraction? People looking, oh, there's something else going on. And they got a carload of kids in the minivan, then we have another wreck, you know? That's my concern with that board, excuse me, in that location. So, for whatever it's worth. Does anyone else have any more comments? No?
But I'd just like to make one comment. I think it's a great idea because you want to have kids into that library as much as possible. And if you got different programs, a lot of kids or parents maybe don't have time to look on your website to see, but if they're driving by, they see it, boom, they go there. So I think, yeah, we need to encourage kids to use the library. Does Wendy's need a digital sign? Probably not. I'm not gonna bash Wendy's, but they sell hamburgers, they sell ice cream. What do you need a sign for? You know, maybe other businesses, Mighty Mike's, you know, they sell tires. Not to bash Mighty Mike's, but that's what they do. So that's kind of how I feel about it. So.
Thanks, Mr. Burleson. Mr. Rocky, you'd have a seat. We'll see if there's any public comment. Was there any remonstrance for this petition, Sergio?
We have not received any, no.
Okay. We'll open it for public comment. Anyone here would like to add on to Mr. Brock's information? Okay. Don't get too comfortable, Mr. Brock. You're going to come back up here. We're going to close public comment. With that, any other questions for Mr. Brock? Otherwise, someone wants to make a motion. Anyone? There's other questions?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve replace the existing sign with an electronic message sign at the St. John Library.
Do you want to read the minutes, or you can make the,
Well, yeah, Mr. Chair, I recommend that as part of any motion, that any findings
Oh, okay.
be made as part of that motion. And
And-
just briefly, it's
thank you, that's, yeah.
the standard for a development variance, one, that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Two, The use and value of the area adjacent to the property
Give a copy of that.
included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. So
As
those
well
would be
as-
the findings.
Yeah, and as well as, do we have any contingencies related to this approval as far as color or limit of colors in the signage? I know we've done that before, Mr. Kennedy, haven't we?
Yeah, the last standard we did, Bob, I know you're new to the board, the last standard we did, I think is the basic for a digital display is no scrolling or flashing. There has to be a 10-second. I think that is the industry standard. There has to be a 10-second. You show it, and then you got 10 seconds, and then you can go to the next screen. I think that was the last one we did. We moved it up from 8 to 10 based on industry standards, so. And then in the past, we did do color monotone. It had to be a monotone color, but I think over the last year or two, we've changed to allow it to be, color, so.
Yeah.
We just, like Mark said, we wanted to reduce the distractions as much as possible with the
Right.
scrolling and the flashing. That's above my pay grade. But yeah.
I think our sign company's been in contact with maybe Mr. Mendoza about, is that part of like what the requirements are for the sign? I mean, would we work with you as far as making sure what they put together met those?
So whatever contingencies this board adheres to any approvals, we would work with the sign company to make sure they meet those requirements. Outside of maybe our current standards, our development standards for signage.
Okay.
So whatever contingencies are placed here tonight, we would work with your sign company to meet those requirements. Yeah.
Okay.
Lumens. It
Dave just talked
needs,
about that, I took it off.
We did,
Just
yeah.
don't worry about that.
You want to read the contingencies, Bob?
Yeah.
in the
Okay,
record?
so my motion again is to approve the existing sign at the St. John Library to an electronic message sign contingent on no scrolling, 10-second minimum screen length, and color.
Mr. Brilson, can you consider one more contingency if Mr. Brock is comfortable with it? If there are alerts, silver alerts, amber alerts, states of emergency, would the Lake County Public Library St. John facility be willing to display those on their digital display?
Good idea.
I would be willing, as I'm assuming it's within the capability of this, it's software to do that. If it,
We're not going to look to fine you, but if the opportunity presents itself
okay,
of an amber alert, we would ask as a public service to the town of St.
No.
John, you would be able to display that for us.
we would have no problem with that.
Okay.
So I want to add,
You can decide what Mr.
yeah,
Kennedy.
what Mr. Kennedy said about the Amber Alert and the finding of facts.
And those findings are that approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, general welfare, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Those are the findings that are required for approval of the variance from the development standards.
I'm going to second it.
Roll call for a vote? Or we just-
Mr. Chairman, just a quick discussion.
Yep.
I think Bob Burleson is right. This is a public entity that provides a public service. But I would just ask in future consideration from this board that we start to become a little bit more strict in our interpretation of the ordinance for digital display, or get some direction from maybe updating our ordinance to give us more of a clear-cut yes or no. And so it's not always on the five of us to make that determination.
Agree.
Thank you, sir.
Agree?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is development variance from St. John MC 24-96 and St. John MC 2446B to construct a 40-foot by 30-foot detached garage and location of current shed at 9024 Columbia Street. James Decker. Mr. Decker?
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, tell us about your project.
I'm a car guy. My kid's a car guy. We got 4 vehicles. 2 of them sit in the street pretty much all the time. My property is just short of an acre. I would like to build an additional garage in the back off of 90th Street. We have a driveway off of 90th Street to accommodate our vehicles and get them off the street.
Okay. Yeah, I drove by your house today just to take a look at it at the site, and these pictures you can't even see. I understand where you're coming from. I've got a couple of kids and cars are parked. I poured a pad for mine. The size, I think, is the question that I think a lot of us have, or the concern with the size that we have there for an additional garage space. I guess the first thing that comes to mind, what's your line of business, and are you planning on running your business out of that garage as well?
I drive a garbage truck.
Okay. The overall square footage of this is gonna be what now? Please
1,200.
remind me of that.
1,200.
1,200 square feet? In addition to what you already have, and we allow how much extra square footage, Sergio?
If he's under 30,000 square feet, he's allowed 1,100 square feet.
He already has,
He already has an existing attached garage, and then he's proposing a second detached garage. So the ordinance requires a detached garage receive a variance, and then the square footage for the proposed garage also exceeds the minimum standards for a lot of record less than 30,000 square feet.
and what does our ordinance allow as far as the additional square footage for garage? I'm sorry, if you said it, I didn't hear it.
1,100 total square feet for all
Total.
or for all garages, correct?
Okay.
Detached or attached.
So for those mathematically challenged, what would all that come up to? So his 12,000 already blows that out of the water, obviously. So his current garage gives him, Mr. Sharon, do you know what that number is?
I don't know what size his current garage is.
Yeah.
Is it 2-car garage you have currently? Sure. So what's that, like 20?
24 by 28 possibly.
He's got 670 there, 672.
So that leaves,
And I mean, basically, 1,200 is the total allowed, 1,100 is.
1,100.
1,100.
528.
Yeah, 528, so, yeah. you're like
428,
428.
so he's almost tripling it. He's adding a 1,200.
Right.
And you wouldn't run a business out of it?
No, sir.
Okay. Your son or
sir.
yourself? Okay. And these cars you restore, or the antique cars, or?
My son's got a race car. I got a Jeep that, I don't know, we just got a lot of cars.
Okay.
Then the race car club comes over in the summertime and a bunch of more kids there with a bunch more cars, and you know how it is.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a 2-car garage, 2-car door on one end, and then a single on at the opposite end?
That is correct. That would be for the mower and for,
Sure.
to get my tools in and out.
The overall size is just, it's kind of large. Even, I mean, you have a large lot out there, I understand that. It's just, when you're looking at that compared to,
I know it sounds large. If you look at the Menards plans, they sell plans, you know, and everything, what they consider a 4-car garage, everything's like 50 feet wide. So, you know, it's maybe right at a 4-car, 3.5-car garage.
again, with that size of garage, if that's what you would expect for your total, just that what you're proposing as your secondary garage. So you're asking for basically tripling the size of your garage space with this building and what you currently have?
I would not be opposed to making it smaller if you would.
Okay, that's,
require that.
we're gonna need to have something in a smaller capacity, I think, as it's just not gonna, when I went by it there today, it's, you have the building that's currently there, and then you wrapped around concrete pad to the rest of it. So you're basically gonna tear down the shed and then build on top of that pad.
Right.
Okay. It's kind of a large, garage, I think, even with the amount of space that you have over there. The lots are over there are nice and large, and I'm not sure what your neighbors think of doing something like that, but I don't think I would want to have that large of a structure next door to me. So if you
Okay.
want to come back, we'll defer this and not, and,
Just a couple, I have a couple questions.
Yep,
Mr.
sure.
Decker, I've seen in here, a couple people said you have a Decker detailing out of your current garage. I did go on Facebook over the weekend, and I did see Decker Elite Detailing with the same address as your house. So you have no business operation currently. I know you said you drive a truck, but you have no side job where you are
Side job, no, sir.
for detail. So the Facebook post that I saw this
That's-
weekend is,
That's my son, and he operates out of our house, but he doesn't do the jobs at our house.
okay. So he operates out of the house, but he doesn't do the work. Okay. In 2020, I'm looking at the file here, you came in for a pad, a parking pad, correct? So you are now just taking the parking pad to add a 1,200 square, or 12,000
This
square.
is the
structure.
pad. I just want to put a building on top of the pad that I
Okay,
did
but-
last year.
If I'm understanding, our building codes require footings, so did that pad have footings?
No,
So the pad you have doesn't have
Well,
footing,
let me-
which our
let me-
building.
Let me correct that. It does have footings. It does not have below the frost line footings.
Which our building
requirements.
require,
Over
720
over
feet.
7. Okay.
Okay, and then one other thing I noticed in pictures, and when I went by your drive, it looks like there's a drain coming out the southwest, a
That was-
PVC pipe.
There was a drain coming out the southwest, and then John, the inspector, said, hey, you're not allowed to have a drain, and so I pulled the drains out the floor. And so it is just, I just didn't pull the pipe out from the ground, so it's just a pipe.
Okay. So when you came in 2020 to put the parking pad, was your intention to always have a garage?
Yes, sir,
But you only applied for a pad?
because that's all I had the money for, and that permit's only good for a year, so I said, well, let's do it one step at a time.
So this is a big risk?
This
You-
is a big risk.
Okay,
Well, either way, I got a parking pad out of it.
okay. No more questions, Mr. Chairman?
Any other questions from, Mr. Decker?
If I may say, there are other houses within walking distance of my house with additional garages. So it's
We're
not
opposed to
outside the
additional
realm.
garages, it's the size that
Okay.
you're proposing, sir, is quite large.
Okay.
So if you, and again, I'm not sure where we should go from here. Mr. Decker, if we, if he's gonna come back with new plans, do we then motion for deferral? What's our next steps here?
Do we want to, can I do yours the public first?
Well, I don't know, or we need to hear from other remonstrances that are there, as well as if there's anyone here that would like to either talk on behalf or against the plan.
Right.
But if he's
so-
opposed, if he's gonna come back and give us different plans, what should, I guess, our next move be?
So you certainly can and should hear the remonstrances or anybody who wishes to speak at the public hearing.
Okay,
That's what.
You have the ability to hold the hearing open, to allow any public comment for any revisions or anything that's different than what has been submitted in that sense. Now, this is, again, this is a variance sought from the development standards, and so that, you know, that would run with the land. But if the board is going to consider certain commitments or restrictions as part of any consideration it makes in the future, then I think the board needs to know what's being presented. And if that's not being presented tonight, then I would probably recommend that you defer and simply hold the hearing open so that anybody can present objections or public comments at a future meeting date.
Mr. Decker, if you have a seat, we'll go to the next step here and open to the floor. If there's anyone here to speak regarding this petition. If not, we'll read the demonstrances that we received. I think we've got at least one, right?
We got only,
We received five.
Five.
Yeah.
5 letters of remonstration, and the 5th letter has 5 different individuals who support that same 5th letter. However, the first letter we received did not give a name, so it's anonymous, and we will not be able to read it into record.
Okay, that's the first one I got here. Do I read those or do you read those?
I can read them until my throat goes dry, and then maybe someone.
Have at it. Thank you, Sergio.
Yep.
We have it.
This one is from David and Patricia Schick, S-C-H-I-C-K, Board of Zoning Department. I'm opposed to the permit for a garage at 9024 Columbia Avenue. The size of the proposed building is not in keeping with the current neighborhood for single-family homes. This is a neighborhood of families with children in well-kept yards, not area for commercial-sized structure. A 30 by 40 commercial-sized building to replace a small shed would be an eyesore to all the homes in the area, completely overtaking the view and looking out of place on the lot. The sized building is better suited for an industrial area, not a zoned single-family neighborhood. A commercial-sized structure for self-storage is not appropriate. Per St. John Code, a detached garage shall not exceed 1,100 square feet on 1 acre at 40 by 30 this square feet is over your allotted code for this size lot. The submittal did not include setback requirements, lighting, or fencing, all of the concerns of this size structure in a family neighborhood. The oversized building, commercial building, does not fit in the neighborhood, a family neighborhood with children. Please do not set a new precedence by allowing the oversized, unjustified structure in our neighborhood, turning it into an industrial park. There is also a concern a place of business could be set up in the future. The next letter is from Nicole and Colleen, or Nick and Colleen Romelli. Dear Chairman LaRue and members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, we are writing to oppose the variance request of Mr. James Decker at 9024 Columbia. After reviewing the drawing and section 24-96 parking requirement, it is stated that no detached garage may be located in the rear yard. We feel that the large garage is going to be an eyesore in the neighborhood and decrease our property values, as this will be viewed right out our front windows. There will also be a lot more traffic and cars parked in front of our house, as Mr. Decker's son will be using the garage to detail cars. This was mentioned by Mr. Decker in a previous conversation. There is already a drain in the slab that he poured for the garage. Where will all the water be draining to? We do not feel that Mr. Decker's drawing truly represents what he is trying to build. Are there any plans for a paved apron or access to the garage? Will there be repercussions if this garage is used for detailing business? Would this kind of detached garage be considered in other newer subdivisions in St. John's, like the Preserve? The next letter is from Conrad and Mary Golenka. Given the various sections of the zoning ordinance reference specifically outlining prohibitions as it relates to these variances request, I hereby formally state my opposition to the issuance of a variance requested by the applicant on the following grounds. If allowed, number one, if allowed, the proposed detached garage of this size and its proposed location will be overwhelming visual presence to motorists, passerbyers, and neighbors in the immediate vicinity, thereby creating a significant objectionable influences in our residential area. Number two, the drawing submitted by the applicant indicated materials and style are not consistent with those of the dwelling as required in section 2496. Issuing specific issuing special use variances for the construction of a garage for this proposed size would result in reduced property values for homes in the subdivision. This impacts the homeowners as well as the municipality's prosperity. Number 4, a detached garage of this size and design will present a commercial appearance rather than a residential appearance and is more typically found in unincorporated areas, not those within M1 designated areas. Furthermore, Section 24-92 provides a table of permitted and prohibited uses within an R1 subdivision. The table outlines it prohibits automotive service stations and repair shops in an R1 area. Number 5, should the variance be granted and the building be constructed, what are the recourse of the neighbors in the town in the event the building is used for commercial ventures? Thank you for your consideration of my comments and those of our neighbors, the neighbors. The last letter, like I said, is signed by submitted by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different individuals or families. I'll go ahead and identify these individuals and read the letter. Gerald Polak and Joanne Palco. So that's Gerald and Joanne Palco. Thomas and Patricia Eaton. Craig and Kay Nelson. Jan and Neil DeVolk. And Paul and Judy Ingram. And so they write, Chairman LaRue and members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, I'm hereby officially registering my verbal opposition to consideration of granting variance to Mr. Decker. In review of Article 4 residential districts of the code, the following reference supports my opposition. Section 24-2, purpose. The purpose of this chapter is to adopt zoning regulations and districts to carry out the long-range comprehensive plan and thoroughfare plan for community development, and more specifically, to adopt the minimum requirements to promote the health, safety, morals, prosperity, aesthetics, and general welfare of the municipality, to regulate and restrict the height, number of stories, and the size of a building and other structures, the percentage of a lot that may be occupied, the size of yards, courts, and other open spaces, the density of population, and the location and use of buildings, structures, and land for trade, industry, residence, or other purposes, and to divide the municipality into districts of such numbers, shapes, and areas are deemed to be are best suited to carry out the purpose stated herein. Section 24-4, interpretation. The provisions of this chapter shall be interpreted and applied as minimum requirements, shall be construed in favor of the municipality, and shall not be deemed in limitations or repeal of any power granted by the state law. If conflicted interest sections is detected, the more restrictive section or element shall apply. Section 24-91, purpose. The general character of the residential districts is to consist of single-family detached dwellings set on large building lots. Non-residential uses would be restricted to those community facilities which, 3, do not create significant objectionable influence in residential areas. Section 24-96, parking requirements. Type, location, orientation of garages and driveways. Side load attached garages are preferred and encouraged, and front load attached garages are allowed. Detached garages may only be allowed and approved by a developmental standard variance by the BZA and shall be built consistent by the style and materials of the dwelling. No detached garage may be located in the required rear yard. Given the various sections of the zoning ordinance reference specifically outlining prohibitions as it relates to these variance requests, I hereby formally state my opposition to the issuance of the variance requested by applicants on the following grounds. Number 1, if allowed, the proposed detached garage of this size and in its proposed location will be overwhelming visual presence of motorists, passerbyers, and neighbors in the immediate vicinity, thereby creating significant objectionable influences in our residential area. Number 2, the drawing submitted by the applicant indicates materials and styles are not consistent with those of the dwelling as required per section 24-96. Number 3, issuing special use variances for the construction of a garage of the proposed size would result in reduced property values for homes in the subdivision. This impacts the homeowners as well as the municipality's prosperity. Number 4, A detached garage of this size and design will present a commercial appearance rather than a residential appearance and is more typically found in unincorporated areas, not those within R1 districts. Furthermore, Section 24-92 provides a table of permitted and prohibited uses within a R1 subdivision. The table outlines its prohibited automotive service stations and repair shops in an R1 area. Number 5, should the variances be granted and the buildings be constructed, what are the recourse of the neighbors in the town in the event the building is used for commercial ventures? Thank you for consideration of my comments and those of other neighbors. So that was the letter submitted by those 5 individuals.
Thank you, Sergio. So with that, based on what Mr. Decker, Attorney Decker mentioned, Mr. Decker, is that if you want, we can look at this as deferral, come back with different plans at a later date to submit and work with Sergio to get that on the next meeting agenda. We still have to vote to defer the,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm reading from the rules of the Board of Zoning Appeals. The board may continue an item from one meeting to another. And so, no notice is required for the continued consideration of an item. And if that's whatever the pleasure of the board is to how it wants to move forward. But it may hold the hearing open if it wishes to allow any additional comments if it so chooses.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would see if anyone from the general public here would want to speak.
No.
Yes, sir. Mr. Decker, do you have a seat? Will you please identify your name and address, sir, when you get this date?
Reuben Pittman, 9021 Columbia. And bring up the speed on some things here. I'm probably the oldest, I don't know, I could be the oldest person in the subdivision, but I've been there for 50 years. And Columbia has been, and I've talked to the town council before, quite a few other people been here in the past. But anyway, back we had people making their garages or their homes into businesses. We had a guy had a landscaping business there for about 10 years, and he had all the cars, and these weren't nice cars either. I mean, I had to go down and help him jump and get them started and everything else, and they leave the oil and the grease. So we've had and then in the last 10 years, I think they've been fighting at 90th Avenue and Columbia Street over all the cars parked out there. I mean, sometimes you have a hard time getting down Columbia Street.
Sure.
And it's a street. It's not a parking lot or a junkyard. And most of the time it looks like a junkyard. And what I have here, I've written this up. I would like to see a drawing of the proposed garage. I didn't have that before, okay? I didn't go down to see Sergio or anybody. I am opposed to any commercial use of the building. This area is owned residential only. And we don't need the traffic and people from that don't live in the area coming in that much. I mean, there is a lot, and the garage may not be habitable, no living quarters, and there's people that live in garages in St. John. And then the existing shed is an eyesore, and it should be removed or raised. And construction should be done in a timely manner. We don't want to take years to get it done. I know the permits are good for a year. And then I had another one here. Yeah, we just didn't want no living quarters in the in there. And then okay, 1,200 square feet. That's bigger than some houses. That's a lot of it. And then there's a flaw in that 30,000 square feet of the acreage for your lot. Those lots are big because when everybody built in the 70s, there was a sewer system. And but when you put a swimming pool in, a deck on there and everything else, you're 30,000 square feet. And how big is the house? There's not a whole lot of backyard left. And I think every proposal and everything else should be looked at on that. Because this 1,200 square feet, he's going to have a diminutive lot for sure. And the drawings there should be aesthetic with the houses. Should look like a residential garage, not a, that's a factory that he's putting up there, or wants to put up there. And I'm not, now that I know the neighbors are gonna get a little mad at me, hopefully, or if they do approve a garage and it's, you know, like a two-car garage, I mean, I don't know how many cars they have. Well, they got a lot of cars. With the approval, there'd be no need to park the vehicles on Columbia Street, and Jim mentioned that. And it causes a bottleneck with the traffic, and there's been a loud and inconsiderate racket going on. And loud mufflers, that's been it, but nobody does anything. There is a state law, if I read the right state and everything when I'm on the computer, that the car shouldn't be no louder than a washing machine. But the racket, but I know there's motorcycles, but they're there for a second or two. But that's about all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you, Reuben.
Is there anyone else that has a public comment regarding Mr. Decker's plan for a garage? Okay, bring it back to the board. We have a motion to defer. Or how would you like to go about this? And I'd like to see some other contingencies based on the deferral, if that's within our right, Mr. Decker, is that correct?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you, again, the board
Open,
can.
I mean, wrong words probably.
Yeah, so the board can take action tonight to approve, to deny, or to take no action. The board could also defer, if it's inclined, to the next meeting to allow additional material to be submitted. So I would recommend that if it moves to defer, I'm not sure what conditions you would place on that. So any restrictions or conditions
yeah.
would likely be considered with some type of motion to approve the variance, but that's my
Yeah, I
thought.
mean, my only, if we were to defer, whatever mechanism we would take as our next step, my concern is that Mr. Decker provide new drawings so that his neighbors can see what he's going to do. Is that within our right or our power here on the board to suggest that whatever he does, his neighbors they get the same information they got the first time around with this particular plan? Or is that outside of our jurisdiction or whatever the correct term would be?
Yeah, I'm not sure practically how that would be accomplished.
Okay. I'm just trying to protect the neighborhood as well as the people that wrote in today, for this meeting today, as well as the gentleman who spoke here just a minute ago.
Well, Mark, do we know what the petitioner is willing, or does he want us to make a decision as is?
No, I'm more than willing to adjust my plans. And if I could come up with a new plan, working with Sergio, something that works for you guys. If I could have the names of the people who oppose, I would have them sign off, bring it back to you guys next meeting or 2 meetings from now.
So it's,
If I could
realize it's
get
not
my
just
neighbor-
the size, if it's just the overall look of the building too, needs to be aesthetically similar to your house, otherwise.
And I'm sorry if the drawing didn't show that. That was my total intention, was to match my house.
Yeah, well, that's one of the requirements with
Right.
adding a secondary garage or a detached garage space. Because when I look at this, it does look like something you'd see, in a small industrial park as far as the size and everything and doors. So that's my only concern. I understand that the parking situation and
Sure.
having, getting
And I'm
cars
not-
off the street, but
And I'm not looking to annoy any of my neighbors.
No,
I
it's-
firmly believe in
no
getting
one's-
along with
no
them.
one's-
And,
you know-
yeah.
So, Mr. Decker, just from my perspective, if there's no footings, I would like, at minimum, it has to be under 720 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, because our building code requires 720 feet, then you can put it on a slab. We got to verify that the drain's out. If that drain's inside the garage, it's got to be tied to the septic system, the the sanitary system.
Right.
So we need to verify that the sanitary's out, and then a strict rule of no business. We've done that on all garages, and then again, we talked about the aesthetic. So if you're willing to reconsider, but unless those things are met, I was not even looking to go forward with what he had. I mean, that was a risk you took.
Great.
So, okay.
Like I say, I'm absolutely willing to adjust my plans.
I mean, that's just a minimum. I mean, there could be a higher standard based on how it lays out, so.
Okay, then, so from that standpoint, Mr. Kennedy, do you want to make a motion for something here?
So are we going to close the public hearing, or are we going to keep it, we probably should keep it open depending on him coming back with the change of plans. So I would, if you're going to keep the meeting open, then I will make a motion to defer this petitioner to allow him to come back to the next meeting with change of plans, understanding at least the contingencies that, if you're comfortable with, I at least put forward, and the board, I don't know if there's any additional ones that,
I think we're on the same
Okay.
page in that.
I'll make a motion to defer.
Before we do that, so there's a minimum, if it doesn't have footing, 720 square feet.
so-
But then you guys are doing calculations, and that number was like, what,
So Bob,
428 feet?
So-
Which one's,
so
which one?
720 is the
Maximum.
maximum size of a structure that can be on a slab that has no footings.
Okay,
We're
So
not
this
moving-
structure,
We're not
but
moving anything.
that doesn't include the whole variance on top of what he currently has and stuff like that. That just meets our building requirements. But then the drainage, if you have a drain in your garage, it's got to be tied into our
I
sanitary.
understand that.
So we got to make sure that that drain is either outside the structure of the garage and, just,
So there'd be a variance then with that 720 feet, because it
it would
exceeds
still, it would
the,
still exceed.
yeah.
Well, I think also to take into consideration as far as if there is a footing around the perimeter of the slab, like beefed up edges, so to speak, and if we're reducing the size of the structure, it's not gonna fall on top of that footing.
He doesn't have a footing.
He doesn't have any
He
footing.
doesn't have a footing.
He said that
No,
there was,
no, you're correct. I have,
Oh.
it's,
so like the edges are typically, you
Yes.
get what, like a 4-inch slab, and then the,
the edges, I believe, are 12, and then they angle up at 45-degree angle to meet the 6-inch slab.
but then the structure would not fit over the footing.
Yeah, it'd fall inside, at least,
Well, one wall, and we could fix that.
We could get the 2 walls on it.
yeah, one wall.
Yeah, you guys are the
You
experts
keep
on
the
that.
3 sides and then shrink that other side. 30 by, I think it'd be 30 by 24 then.
Okay.
So do we, then we see other
So-
issues then based on what we know already with this foundation, with this pad he's already poured? That's what it sounds like from Bob and from Drago.
Well, I think with the updated drawings, have our building commissioner review it to make sure it meets our standards. And then we have to keep the public hearing open, so residents, as they see the new plans, have an opportunity to address those as well.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Decker, just one comment I didn't catch, but was brought up a couple times in the letters. We do try to have the siding from the house match the garage, just to have some symmetry. So that's something if you could show us in the drawings as well.
Yes, sir, that was my total intention, and I'm sorry if it didn't show up in the
Okay.
computer drawing.
So I would definitely have whatever the drawings have it reviewed by John Gill prior to us reviewing it. So he can make a recommendation to this board, and then I'll rely on some of you contractors up here to make sure we gotta make sure this building doesn't fall. So,
Correct,
okay,
correct.
so you got my motion to defer.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Oops.
I'm aye.
Your aye?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would also say, what did we agree on as far as notification to the residents in that area
Well,
again?
by keeping it open, that means that they're still gonna get information, correct?
They will get a new packet
I don't
within,
think so.
That was
Sergio,
my
how does
point
that
of-
work?
So the information that was sent out to the adjacent property owners within 300 feet was notification of the public hearing. Any updates that we receive, the public is welcome to come in and ask to review that file. So we would, and residents have in the past come in and asked to review a certain file, and we bring out the file and they can review what information or updates we have to date.
They won't be notified again.
The town does not notify the residents of any new updates. If the applicant would choose to do that himself, that is upon him, but, once he submits new information to us, we'll update the file.
So they don't get notified again.
So again, do we vote, do we vote again? I don't think everyone, you didn't vote.
No, I didn't vote. I just feel like, since there's such an amount of, people that are, not in favor of the building, I think it'd be fair to them to be notified.
I'll gladly notify them. I prefer not to send them a packet again, because them things are $7 a piece. But, I mean, I'll knock on doors. I'll get them to sign off that I've knocked on their door and talked to them. I have no issues with that at all. Some of them are, bunch of them are sitting right here.
So with that in mind, I guess, again, do we, all's in favor?
Mark,
Deferring?
I think we made a motion and it passed.
Yeah.
Did it pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Well,
passed.
I
I just brought up one point, but yeah, I'll agree with
I also
that.
asked if it's Renee's, and no one, and Vago didn't say one word either direction, so that's why I'm asking again.
So I'll go with aye.
Aye, all right. So motion carries, we defer Mr. Decker's plans.
So any of those residents that are here tonight, he will be on the agenda for the third Wednesday in May if he gets his package in on time. We usually do not
Monday.
continue a public hearing more
Monday.
than two, or Monday, the third Monday. Thank you.
Right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 2022-03, special exception from St. John MC 24-342, ET in sequence to St. John MC 24-45 to request a personal service use nail salon in the US 41 overlay district at 8329 Wicker Avenue, Ton Tran, OT Nails, and Son Nguyen, agent. Gentlemen?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Sun. I'm the general contractor working on behalf of my client here, who is asking for the exception.
Okay, tell us a little bit about what you're planning on doing, sir.
He's building a nail salon, so just basic care, manicures, pedicures. Yeah, just like every other salon around. Just, yeah, we asked for the permit, and I guess we found out there was some variance there that wasn't okay, and we had to come and ask for permission before we started. So it's a unit that's been leased, and we will be building it just from empty shell, pretty much. There's just concrete slab in there and drop-down ceilings. So we'll be doing the plumbing, the electrical, and then floor, drywall, paint. That's pretty much it.
Where's the business located? I mean, show me on a map as far as where it's, okay.
It is on Wicker, directly across from, yeah, our landlord is actually here with us, so.
Hi,
He's going to be going into Lake Central Plaza, directly across from the high school,
okay.
and he is going to be building an upscale nail salon. It will add value to the businesses surrounding. It will be a good complement for our other businesses. They're all looking forward to him coming in.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order. I don't believe we have a name and an
I'm sorry,
address.
Renee Ignatz?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sorry, one more time?
Renee Ignatz?
Okay, thank you, Renee. Any questions from the board?
So if I'm looking at this plan that was provided me, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stations,
Yes, those are pedicure chairs.
and then the new room is, what would that be used for?
They will be used for waxing and makeup and stuff like that, and they call it esthetician room.
So how many employees?
He's planning for at least 5 by the time we're ready, you know.
Okay,
It can be up to 10, you know, however many can fit in there, but
and this may be for Renee, a question. Renee, any parking issues? No issue, because he's on the south side with
The new building.
Livio's, okay,
Yeah, it's that tall parking.
okay. And then I see, have you looked at, I mean, I know you got a pipe drain, storm, sanitary, no issues with all the water that you see currently. Have you looked at it? With the sanitary, with all the water, no issue?
no,
You got-
no,
okay.
there's no issue. Yeah, it's just pedicure water pretty much. There's no chemicals and nothing like that coming out of there, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with any parking issue. That'd be the only issue, you know, I would see.
There's plenty of parking in the back of that building for all of his employees,
Oh, okay,
so there's quite a lot of parking. He won't have a problem with parking.
great, okay.
Any other questions?
No, it looks good.
Have a seat for a second. We're going to open it for public comment. Did we receive any remonstrances for this petition?
We did not, I do not, nope.
Is there anyone here that would like to have a comment regarding the nail salon? And we'll close public comment. Step back up again, please, sir. Do we have anyone who would like to make a motion regarding the
Adam,
petitioner's
quick
request?
question.
Yes?
I do not have, I mean, I think it's the 6, 8, 1, 2, 3. Can I just reference a finding of facts with my motion? Or do you, oh, never mind.
You may, I always prefer that
Read it.
it be
Okay.
read into the record, if at all possible.
Just for the board's, is there any contingencies the board wants me to, I'm not aware of?
I
Okay.
can't think of anything
Okay.
that's.
This
Yeah.
is cut and dry.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the special exception at 8329 Wicker Avenue, that the established maintenance or operation of the special exception will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare, that the special exception will not be injurious to the use, the enjoyment, or other property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted or substantially diminish and impair property value within the neighborhood. The establishment of the special exemption will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for use permitted in the district. Adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets, and that adequate utilities, road access, drainage, and or necessary facilities will be provided. That adequate measures will, in all other aspects, conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located, and that the special exemption shall be required to comply with reasonable time limitations on the commencement and duration of the special exemption, as well as holder of rights to same.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. I have this motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Guys.
Thank you.
Good luck with your endeavor.
Sure, thank you.
Next on the agenda, 2022-04, developmental variance from St. John MC 25-520 in sequence to St. John MC 24-516 E1 to construct a fence 3 feet behind the sidewall of a corner lot and encroach into the division triangle at 9122 Mallard Lane. Zach Topol. How are you?
Good.
That's what you're planning on doing here, and I look at the,
My
I was trying
intent
to look at
is-
my computer today, and I have a hard time making those pictures move. Just like I wasn't doing that.
so,
Belligerent computer this afternoon.
Sure. My intent is to continue the fence of my neighbors, to bring it out to the sidewalk. I have 4 young children that my wife is struggling to keep track of while they're, to allow them to be outside and play on our playground and things like that. And because of the size of our lot, we would like to bring as much of it as we can within the fence line to maintain the property value. We have an existing sewer main about 5 feet off the back of the sidewalk, and so I wanted to be on the far side of that to bring as much of the fence in, the yard into it. You can see the rim right there where the mouse is. The intent is to put an aluminum fence does not obstruct the view significantly, because I understand the vision triangle issues. Additionally, if you're interested, I went in and looked into the minimum visibility requirements that AASHTO requires, which is 115 feet for 20 miles an hour, which in all cases can't be obstructed based on this fence due to the size of the radius of the road. And then there's additional pictures below, but that's the intent.
So you mentioned there was a current fence there already, your neighbor's fence?
Yeah, so that's the intent that's the style of fence that I would like to match with.
Which is what we have there in the front.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
so that's on the north side of my property. And
Okay.
this is my south side of the yard. And we're looking to bring it in front of the window wells, so beyond the fact that we have, 4 children, we've had people that are loitering on our property. I would like to protect as much as I can of that,
Sure.
as well as preferably keep the window wells within my property, so in case someone decides to wander on, they can't hurt themselves as well.
Sure.
Those are the primary goals of this, and ease my my wife's concerns.
Go back to the picture of the setback. We have to, I understand you're trying to gain as much of your side yard as possible. I guess first, the window wells, you can put covers over those two, right?
I
mean,
understand
it's
that.
not just, the fence is going to eliminate all issues. Even your own children could fall into those, the window wells the way they are. I'm a big believer in the the plastic or whatever, the acrylic tops you can put on there. But to take the fence to the sidewalk, we have a variance against that, don't we, as far as it has to meet the setback?
Yes, the ordinance requires it be 8 feet from the property line.
Okay, so that would put us,
Would be on the other side of that manhole. One reason, and other neighbors, I see them have similar setbacks, and so obviously that's what I would prefer to do.
you're
is
saying your neighbors have them out to the sidewalks?
They have opaque privacy fences 3 feet beyond the sidewalk. So that was, obviously, okay, well, they're doing it, so that was before, obviously, we figured out what a variance would require, but.
Yeah, that may have changed between the time you're doing it, to the time they're
Yeah, and I
doing it, too.
understand that, but.
I understand your point of view on that, trust me. And aesthetically, it would look kind of maybe a little bit wonky, but I'm just trying to follow what we have
Sure.
that we're dealing with here. Anyone have any questions from the board?
Zach brings up a good point. Prior residents have moved their fence as close as possible to the sidewalk. However, when this board became part of this board, that was one thing we have stopped immediately. Having a sidewalk that close, or a fence that close to the sidewalk is just not safe. In our last couple variances, we've actually pushed them back to the building line.
Right.
The last one we did. And I understand you want to maximize as much as your lot as possible, and I appreciate that. But it's a better standard for us. It avoids those future conflicts that you're bringing up right now, that, hey, he got to do that. And if we create a standard, then we're all living by the same standard. And I know there's special exemptions or rules that we need to sort of look at, but I mean, to have a variance with this size backyard, I just find it hard that, you need to push it all the way out to your sidewalk like that. So I would look for at least to take it to the building line. We did that with the last one, just because it's helping us create a standard within our board. There is no other hardship. I mean, if, that's how I look at it. So that's my 2 cents.
May I ask the safety concern that you have? Is that
If someone is riding a bike and falls, and that sidewalk fence is 1 foot off,
Sure.
you are running into a fence.
I was questioning because I know that the visibility triangle was what was brought up as the variance point. So I
Yeah,
was just curious what your point was.
Well, so you could go off 8 feet, right, without a variance. But because you got then you got the vision triangle.
Okay.
For a side.
That's my question.
That's true. So if you go off 8 feet, you still got the vision triangle issue, I potentially believe.
I do, based on the way that I understand it to be described, based on talking with Sergio.
Right.
Based on like what I said, by checking the distance required for stopping for vehicles.
Yeah.
It would not impact that because, like I said, the radius of this is significant, as you can see.
I agree with that. So like if it's just a vision triangle, what we've been doing is we want an opaque, like a fence like you're proposing.
That's why I chose that fence.
And then we have reduced shrubbery in that corner, that no large bushes over so feet, but I mean, that's, again, you don't need it, but again, I'm just trying to, Zach, you make a great point, you got kids, you want them to use your property as much as possible. I'm just trying to make this job a little bit easier so we're not upsetting all our friends and neighbors.
Sure.
By setting some sort of standard, and if we could keep it to the building line, then everything's good. But you're allowed to go 8 feet, but unfortunately, you got the vision triangle rule with the corner lot.
Right, and I guess consistency within the neighborhood, there is multiple neighbors within the same that are 1 to 3 feet off of the sidewalk.
And we're trying to avoid that for the future. And especially if we give it to you now, your neighbor to the west will be like, and how can we stop them from
Dave.
putting this
from their sidewalk. So, I mean, it's
understand.
tough. We want you to enjoy your backyard as much as possible, but I'm just trying to set some easier standards for us to follow.
And the proposed starting point too would be up and where Sergio has the cursor at, that's towards the front of your house, correct?
That is,
And I believe
yes,
that that ordinance also requires it at the back portion of the house. Yeah,
So that's about the middle of my house, right there.
So it'd have to come off the back lot, back of the house?
Back of
is
the,
that where,
Back corner.
the back corner, I was with that's the ordinance read that way.
But he does have the one, I mean, we did that for well,
Yeah.
everyone's unique, so,
We've done it before for the variance as far as the,
to keep the window well inside the
right,
fence.
inside the confines of the fence. I guess I'm not opposed to that, but we would have to bring it back. If we brought it back to the build line, I think that would be a more appropriate solution in this situation.
What about in the case of, you said 8 feet if I wasn't impacting the vision triangle? If it's deemed to be safe due to the vision triangle because there's no obstruction based on stopping distances, would 8 feet be acceptable? Because the only restriction is because this is within a corner lot. If I was anywhere else,
True.
there would be something different. So if it doesn't impact the vision triangle, I would argue that it doesn't, while it does, technically meet that code and need to be a variance for it, it doesn't directly impact it based on the way that my location is.
Where's your window well on this residence?
There is one, I think the second picture will show it.
It's right there.
Yep, right
So
there.
it's just
So there are
behind.
2 of them. That photo doesn't show it well. One behind the landscaping and then one further back. And so if I came off the back of my house, also I have a drain that comes in there, and I just recently built
Patio.
that last year. That new patio is brand new, and obviously I would prefer not to put a fence right on top of it. So that's why I'd like to bring it up far enough that I can use that area right by it.
So we're bringing it in somewhere over here. And that's bad.
Sergio, do we know, I mean, I haven't done
It's going to the garage.
I mean, he would still be in the vision triangle because you take it from the front corner of the house and you take it to the back corner of the lot. So
If
he would
he-
still be in it.
If
Yeah.
he's requesting to comply with the 8-foot setback from the inside of the lot line or up to the lot line, if he's approved that way, he still would need the variance because
Yeah.
it does go into the vision triangle.
Okay.
Portion of that at least does.
Almost any fence that I put in realistically would impact that vision triangle. So I need to go
Yeah.
through this.
Unless you kept it off the corner of the back lot, which I agree you don't.
And I wouldn't be
Yeah,
building a
I
fence.
agree with you there. I agree with you there. All right.
Any other questions I can answer? Or?
Anyone else have any questions? For Zach?
I'm sorry, Zach, I do have one more question. If hypothetically you're agreeable to the building line, which would be another 7 feet back, would you still put the opaque, the
I
railing?
intend to do that fence regardless.
Okay.
That's why that was my hope, that because it impacts the vision triangle very minimally relative to an opaque fence, that I could bring it out further.
Yeah.
And just avoid, obviously, that sewer. That's my concern.
And are they escape window wells, like from your basement?
They are not.
They are not, okay.
No, the house wasn't constructed that way.
Glass, block, or just window?
Well, I'm sorry, what are you asking?
The windows down in the window well,
Glass windows, yeah.
glass windows, okay.
They are not
Okay,
egress.
no egress, yeah. Because I think we did that for the last gentleman, that was an egress.
Right.
And so we allowed him to push it out, okay. Thank you, sir.
Did you receive any remonstrances for this particular variance, Sergio?
We did not receive any remonstration.
Okay. Open up for public comment. If anyone's here would like to make a comment regarding Mr. Topol's request for a fence. If not, we'll close public comment. Mr. Topol, if you'd come back up again. Does anyone for the board have like to make a motion?
I mean, right now, as he's drawn it, I would not be in favor of the development of variance to put the fence all the way up to the sidewalk. I don't know what Mr. Zach, I'm sorry if I don't, Topo, what Zach's, again, my preference, and I'm only one of you guys, I would like to start setting a precedent, or So we have some sort of
Contingency.
consistency.
Yep, yep.
We take it back to the building line, he keeps the other fence, he tries, I don't even know if I would put a restriction on any type of landscaping, because I think going back to the building line, there is a good radius, cars are gonna come out,
There's not a stop sign there, it's just a curve.
Yeah,
but he's right, the radius, and I would allow him to bring it up to the, because he does have those 2 window walls, even though it's not an egress, but, I
Yeah, I
just
don't-
never
I don't
know,
have a problem
right?
with that either, John, quite honestly. I'm
But I-
trying to get to the,
it's up to Mr.
closer to
Topol.
the build line. I understand his point of view to get it out as close, the 8-foot line as possible. Again, we're talking, a few feet. That does take it.
that's 12 feet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
12 feet's pretty significant.
He's absolutely right. I mean, if it was any other lot than a corner lot, he wouldn't have this issue, but it is,
True.
so.
And if you're interested, I did draft this on CAD to show that 115 feet, which is what I would assume the visibility thing is driving to, is.
Thank you.
This is showing it with 3 feet back.
For the files, yes. Thank you.
So this is obviously showing it at 3 feet, obviously based on what I was requesting. My preference is more so out to the as wide as I can, more so than the front. I would like them to be brought in the fence as far as the window wells go. My biggest concern is space on the side of my house for my children to be able to play, because that's where we have space available in the back. We have a garden and a shed and a little playhouse area that occupied, so they have free space to run. And if there's a fence 20 feet off, I'm concerned also with property value. Is why did you do that? Is what I feel like someone that would
Blame
come
the
to look
town
at
for
my
that
house.
one.
I can, but I don't think they'll care about that too much. So
Take the fence down when you're selling it.
Okay, this is the fence locations
this is
drawn
based
a
on,
little different.
based on 3 feet.
This-
Yes.
Okay, on 3 feet, okay.
So yes, that's based on 3 feet, and understanding that that sounds like you guys aren't interested in that. But I would look for, like I said, as much as possible to the south, and if there's an adjustment on what I'm proposing.
Did you have utilities marked off? As far
I
as-
did previously, yes, and like I said, there's a manhole that I can see, and I know where that runs.
My concern would be more about the underground utilities in that.
Utilities run in the back line. We've dug them up there in my neighbor's lot. They also come from the north, is where the loop for the transformer comes. So the transformer's in the northwest corner of my property. That would be brought in. That's where the cable comes from and runs to there. And then my utilities are on the north side of my property. So there are minimal utilities in the path of what I'm suggesting for the fence.
Okay. Any other questions, recommendations for Mr. Topol, or a motion with any contingencies that might be favorable? Anybody? John?
Again, if we're looking at it as is, I would not be in favor. So if I make my motion, it's not going to be favorable. I'm looking for, it's a compromise, right? He's trying to move his fence farther up north, or I'm sorry, farther east.
Right.
South in this case.
Or
South.
South. Well, yeah, to move it off the corner, closer to the front of the house. And then I'm just, I like to set standards. I guess it keeps us out of trouble in the future, and we sort of, even though they're here for a variance because there are unique circumstances. But this is a big lot, it's a corner lot, and he's asking, he has every right to ask for it. I just, as it looks now.
Are we able to add in contingencies, Mr. Decker, to say that we would approve based upon a setback to a certain, whatever it's the build line or whatever is recommended, I can't talk anymore, recommended from the council, from the board, I mean?
This is not a recommendation to the council.
I'm sorry, I mean, for the
But-
board to approve, that's what I
Yes.
meant to say,
Yeah,
sorry.
No, that's all right. So yes, the short answer is you may impose any contingencies or conditions to any approval of a variance from the development standards.
Okay.
So yes.
That's what we've done in the past, that's why I'm asking, make sure I've got that right and correct in my,
So, I mean, Mark has, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, he could either take it 8 feet off the sidewalk, but he would have to potentially put it off the corner of his back lot, right? Which
Right.
I agree, he shouldn't. He just put a deck there. Why would you want to put your thing? So my compromise is we allow him to move it closer to the front of the house, encroach on the site vision line, vision triangle, but we take it back to the building line. But I don't know if he's looking
is
for
that
the
something
maximum.
that you would entertain?
I agree.
So you, and then I want to bring this up again, the fence that, is it on the west side of your bump out or on the east side of the bump out?
So.
The fence, because the plat here with the blue line shows
It
it,
shows it behind the first window well, and the second window well is not shown.
so it's west of the bump out.
That's
Okay.
how originally
The way you have it drawn here on this one is on the east side of the bump out.
Oh, I see
That
what
was-
you're talking about, Bob, okay.
Yeah, so that was.
So which one do you want?
What I want is based on what I'm hearing, what I would be happy with is not putting it right off the back corner because of the patio. So
Right.
somewhere between the window well west of the eastmost one, somewhere in the center of of my house, and 8 feet back off the sidewalk, which to me would continue to set a standard based on what you're saying, because any other lot would be set back 8 feet. For this.
Well, not
may-
corner lots.
I understand that, but that may change between them. I don't know what, is that just a visibility thing for corners versus other lots?
Typically, yes.
Okay,
Well, it's a vision triangle issue.
sure. So if this doesn't potentially, show that it is safe based on what,
Well, so if you move it off the corner and you move it forward, the vision corner is from the corner of your house, which would be the southeast corner,
correct,
to the back lot. So anything coming off that,
would be within the triangle, and essentially that's any fence that I try and put into my yard.
unless it's off the back corner.
It still is.
It still is.
If I come 10, 15 feet off, if I go to the building line,
Oh, that's right.
I would be in conflict of that regardless. The vision triangle is any fence that I build that actually covers my
You're
yard
right.
would
It
be
is.
impacted.
Mhm.
So that,
That's how I interpret it.
Yep.
That blank.
Is that correct, Sergio? I mean, it would be
So-
correct.
Yes, any fence that he builds
Yeah, I don't know what,
would encroach
Sounds
into the
like
vision
this is-
triangle.
This is
And you
representative
can
of
see it's from the corner of the house to the corner of the property line.
You're right.
That's
So
how I
even if he
interpret
goes
off
to the
this
building
one,
line, as
to this line,
was discussed, it
anything in
still
that
would be
is-
going into the vision triangle. It just would not be, it would be 22 feet from the home towards West 91st Avenue as opposed to 38, 39
Gotcha.
feet from the home, what he is requesting.
He's right.
So with all this information, it's from that standpoint, if your wish is to do something other than what Mr. Kennedy has recommended as far as going to the, in front of that window well, and then to the build line, if you want to take it out further than that, then we're talking, we're not in the same ballpark here. Am I correct, Mr. Kennedy?
No, I mean, he's right. He would have to get a variance no matter what.
True.
But it just comes down to setting consistencies within this board to make things a little bit easier.
I understand that as well.
If there was,
I think we agree with that.
if there was a issue regarding utilities, pipelines, access points, but I don't see any other hardship, again, this is my opinion, Zach, not yours. I don't see any other hardship.
I mean, the hardship is potentially ruining the value of my home. And as you may have suggested, if I ever need to sell, I have to tear down a fence to be able to sell because the property value is diminished because I'm going to cut my yard in half on the south side of my property. That's my hardship, is that this is potentially financially impacting, and I I bet my neighbors would actually have an issue if I did it the way with a building line as opposed to bringing it further out and bringing as much yard within. I obviously, we spoke about it. I don't have anybody here to back me up, but we are all, they were happy and they thought it was fine, but I think they would wonder why. Why are you so far back? Because the neighbor to the west, the neighbors on the north side of it, and I understand that that's a precedent that you're trying to avoid, but the precedent's been set within my neighborhood, obviously, to this point, and I'd like to get what I can within the fence because that's the intent of the fence.
Understand?
Any other questions from Mr. Topol? Anyone like to make a motion?
Just a quick comment too, if we go to the next picture. Just, this one right here. While it is a big improvement, you can see through the fence, but you can see with line of sight as you go further back, it does create an obstruction, just as the
All the pickets line up together.
right.
Sure.
Locks it out.
So my point is that I'm about 15 feet away from that. When you're driving through here and you're in the road and say you're passing that way, you'd be significantly further back from that when you're looking through there. And what the vision triangle, assuming for obstruction to vehicles, the vehicle's looking for what's in front of them and what's potentially impacting the lane of travel. They're not driving on the sidewalk, they're driving in the road, and they would be able to see along the sidewalk as well as beside it because of unless they're flying through there at an unsafe speed already, 20 miles an hour is very limited in what's necessary to recognize and stop in a safe, based on typical reactions for what they design roads to. There's no fence that'll be perfect, but if
No, we don't disagree with you on that, sir. And you have a situation because of your lot, and location of your lot is the main concern here. Again, would someone like to make a motion?
So what's being proposed? Is it as is, 3 feet off?
I'm assuming that's not an option. Can I tell you what I would like to do and modify it based on what I'm hearing from you? And I would like to go 8 feet off the sidewalk based on what you had mentioned previously. And I can bring it back so that it's not as far forward and bring it behind the front window well. If there's a specific dimension that needs to be, I would just propose approximately the middle of the south side of that face of the house that's shown on there, which is 26 feet, so approximately 13 feet from the front edge of the southeast corner.
Does any of that make a difference to any of you? You still?
I like the building line.
No.
Yeah.
I do too. That's the way it's written, that's the way it is.
So,
I mean, do you give them, I mean, it's,
it is what it is.
we did it for the last one.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to try to keep it, but, it's his ask, our determination, so.
I think it's gonna go to the building line.
I mean, if it was tighter, I'd understand,
No, I agree. I mean, I understand the situation that you're in, but we're trying to keep Mr. Kennedy mentioned,
Yep.
consistency across in situations like this. It appears to me that we're not going to probably approve this again. I'm just talking out loud here, based on what your ask is, based on what's been recommended or what they may be willing to give you in the situation. So, someone on the board would like to make a motion to, in whatever capacity, to move this forward.
I'll make a motion to deny the variance, development variance to construct a 3-foot fence and sidewalk to encroach the vision triangle at 9122 Mallard Lane, that the approval will be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort of the general welfare of the community, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will be affected in a substantially advanced manner, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
What does that mean? Does that mean I don't have a fence at all and I have to start from scratch?
Mr. Decker, can you,
No, as long as it doesn't require a variance, you can build a fence in your.
Everything requires a variance on my lot. There's not a single fence that I could build, but to keep anybody in.
So the current code allows you to be 8 feet off the property line and then off of the sight line. So you can create a fence or propose a fence that meets those requirements. Also, I just want to let the board know that corner lots by subdivision standards are usually 20% larger than typical lots as required because of the complexity of corner lots themselves that they pose. So they are required by subdivision ordinance to be larger to help meet or offset some of those complexities. In this case, the 20-foot building line is just that off of a 120-foot lot line, which typically is 100 feet if it was an interior lot, so. But in this case, you can put a fence as long as it meets the minimum standard requirements for the zoning code.
But it doesn't if I'm within the triangle, so I have no option
Correct.
without going back through a variance. And so there's no path forward without starting over from scratch from here is what I'm hearing.
If you'd like, we can review the ordinance and submit or help you submit something that the staff is able to approve by the codes.
I mean, we've talked about it.
Yes, we have.
There is no option that I'm willing to proceed with.
Okay.
As far as, I mean,
Mr.
if I go
Tobel?
to the building line, is there any change that you guys would be willing to approve? I won't build the fence.
Mr. Topol, that's what I've been saying this whole time. I've been saying the building line.
So, but I didn't hear what, as far as going forward with that. I mean, I'd have to start over all the way from the beginning. And this cost me $1,000 just to get here and go through this to this point, and hours and hours of my time.
Mr. Tobel, I appreciate that, but I mean, I thought I was pretty clear that I would be acceptable to the property.
I heard you. I didn't hear anybody else that was anything else. So if that's the case and you're willing to adjust it to 20 feet as the build line, and I don't know, retain as far as, I don't know what's acceptable to beyond that, to go to the east and retain, like I said,
Mr.
east is
Topol,
to
I
the
was,
top.
as you show it here in this blue drawing,
Sure.
where it's just west of the bump
I
out,
understand that part.
I was acceptable to that, taking it to the build line,
Okay.
and I was
Okay.
in favor of that. From my understanding, you said you were not.
I was trying to offer a compromise and not saying I wasn't willing to do that. I guess I
Okay.
misunderstood.
You need a motion to reconsider, if that's the case.
Yeah,
I
it
will
sounded
make-
like you didn't want to lose 12 feet.
I don't
and you
want
didn't
to, but
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to start over.
So I will make a motion to reconsider that if Mr. Topol, with these contingencies, to approve a well, let me go back here. Let me get this all under control. So, for the board's consideration, that based on this drawing, that I would be, my motion will be based on a fence starting to the west of that first window well, going to the building line, contingent on that it is that OPEC fence, contingency on an OPEC fence, and minimum landscaping, I think we've said over 6 feet in previous something.
Correct.
The mature landscaping no more than 6 feet. Mr. Topo, are you with those contingencies?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I can get.
Okay, well, so I will make a motion to reconsider.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I think it's two things. We're considering two motions. The first motion is to reconsider.
The motion to deny.
Exactly. And then you're going to do a second vote on whatever the board.
Correct. So the first consideration
Okay.
is to,
I will make a motion to reconsider the variance for Mr. Topol.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Kennedy, then,
All right, I will make a motion to approve the development variance for Mr. Topol at 9122 Mallard, that the variance is to allow a fence to start at just west of the most eastern window well to the building line, and with the contingencies that it is an OPEC fence as shown in the drawings, and that mature landscaping won't be more than 6 feet in that corner. Mr. Topol, just in that corner.
Which corner is that?
The corner of
towards the front of your home.
the
By the building
south,
line.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
that corner there.
illustrated now, right?
Southeast corner of your fenced-in area.
fencing. Thank you, gentlemen. That the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in this variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. That the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. With the following contingencies, again, OPEC fence, starting point to the build line,
Encompass the window wells.
to encompass,
The-
well, just west
one.
of the eastern window well, instead of that bump out,
Basically.
as the drawing shows with the, and then no mature landscaping over 6 feet in the southeast corner
Of the fenced-in area.
of the fenced-in area. Thank you, Bob.
Correct. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in
Sir-
favor?
I'm sorry, Sergio, are you good with all those contingencies?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Decker, is there anything else that you would like to add to that?
Well, just a point of clarification, Mr. Kennedy said an opaque fence.
Oh, OPEC, or what, the slatted
Open-
fence.
open-
Aluminum.
Aluminum,
Aluminum, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
thought
I
the
wasn't-
OPEC was what he was showing. I apologize.
So
I-
the fence, the
Open
aluminum
fence or whatever, how would, I've been
The one
as
that's shown.
presented and as shown, okay.
Yes,
That's,
yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to use words too big for my
Okay.
vocabulary.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. All is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Topol, for your time.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before the next item, I
Yes.
just want to, just a little bit of housekeeping.
Sure.
Because the next item is, I believe, a special exception, another special exception consideration. We had one item C, and special exception considerations are recommendations that are made to the town council. So I don't know if that was discussed or if
This was kind of throwing me. so-
item C, item E as special exceptions, as well as item F, will be basically recommendations to the town council.
Okay.
As opposed to, a final decision.
So it's not just, we're not giving approval, we're giving
A recommendation.
recommendation.
Favorable or unfavorable
Favorable
recommendation
recommendation.
to the
Gotcha.
council. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Thank-
what items? I'm sorry,
so,
Mr. Decker.
well, basically, anything other than a developmental variance.
Okay,
So item C, item E, which is next, item F, and item H are all going to be recommendations to the town.
Gotcha.
Final say,
Okay.
final decision.
Let's check where we were at.
So we'll get you certification over to.
I just want to
get the agenda
And I-
35 pages.
Next on the agenda, 2022-05, special exemption from St. John MC 24-342 in sequence to St. John MC 24-45 to request a personal service use stretch slab in the US 41 overlay district at 10033 Wicker Avenue, Suite 6. Michael Wandall, hopefully I said that correctly. Stretch Lab, applicant owner and agent, Paul DeBoer, building owner. Hello, sir.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good.
I am the franchise, potential franchise owner of Stretch Lab that I'm hoping to put in the.
You are, your name, sir?
Michael Wandall.
Okay.
In the shops at Ravenswood at 10033 Suite 6. Stretch Lab is an assisted stretching fitness boutique studio, getting popular in more urban areas. Chicago, coming out of Southern California in 2015, franchised in 2018. We will have roughly 10 to 15 employees, ranging from the general manager, sales associates, to what we call flexologists, which are our employees who are doing the assisted stretching for wide range of ages, people, just assisting them in their mobility, flexibility, and just physical wellness. And if you have any questions, that's pretty much it. We will be based on memberships for our pricing will be memberships mostly. And our flexologists will become from the physical therapy, personal trainer industries. That's where we'll be searching for them, and then they will be certified through Stretch Lab at various locations throughout the Midwest, most probably here in Chicago more than anything.
Okay. Location, so this is like where La Carita and the pizza, I forget the pizza joint. Is it in that same complex? Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to get my bearings is where that dress is at.
Stretch and then go get a burrito.
I'm going to get a burrito first.
I'm gonna get a margarita after this.
At any given time, how many employees, or not, I'm sorry, at any given time, how many people maximum would be at the facility? I know you said you have 10 to 15 employees. They wouldn't all be there at the same time?
No, not normally. There's 10 benches in the drawing, and I have yet, in my Stretch Lab experience, to see the studio that full at one time. Hopefully it is at some point. But there's 10 benches. That would be 20 people if that were to be the very case. And like I said, I have not seen that. The most I've seen in my experience middays when I've experienced going in for a stretch was 5 to 6. And so plus 2, so you're at 12, and somebody running the front counter. So
Sergio, you haven't heard any parking issues at La Carreta, or no, it's not La Carreta?
We have not received any concerns with parking or complaints for that shopping strip center. The code reads that one parking for every 100 square feet of net floor areas for the first 15,000 square feet. In this case, it looks like the square footage for the building is about 1,500 or 1,421. So you're probably looking at minimum requirement of 10 or 11 or 12 parking spots.
Okay.
At full capacity.
At full capacity, okay. Thank you. Is it a vacant building, or a vacant?
currently, yes, there is a, I mean, I think he's got 2 open spots in that building right now, and we are looking for one of them, the smaller one.
Okay.
There are questions for
No more
Mr.
questions,
Wendell?
Mr. Chairman.
Have a seat, sir, and we'll bring you back up in a second. Have we been receiving demonstrations for this particular
We have not
petition?
received anything.
Is anyone here open for public comment? I'll make a comment regarding the Stretch Lab in that location. Okay. Just step back up, Mr. Wendell. Any further questions for him from the board? Any recommendations or contingencies or
Is there any contingencies from the board members? If not, I'll make a recommendation. I'll make a favorable recommendation for 10033 Sweet Tree Wicker Avenue on behalf of Stretch Lab, that the establishment's maintenance or operation of the special exemption will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare, that the special exception
will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment or other property at the immediate facility for the purpose already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property value within the neighborhood, that the establishment of the special exemption will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets, and that adequate utilities, access road drainage, and/or necessary facilities will be provided. That adequate measures will in all other aspects conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located, and that the special exemption shall be required to comply with reasonable time limitations on the commencement and duration of special exemption, as well as holders of rights to same, no contingencies.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Good motion. Do we have a second? Drago. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
For the record, it is an aye for me. I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with your endeavor.
I'm trying to move it along.
And I do appreciate that, sir. Next on that is 2002-06 use variance, St. John MC, 24-342, sequence to SJMC 2445 to allow a dance school in property zone C2 and in the US 41 overlay district at 8385 Wicker Avenue, Katie Spotlight Dance Studio, applicant owner Tim Kuiper.
Correct.
Thank you.
Tim Kuiper here, Austin Kuiper Jositis, on behalf of Katie Spotlight Dance Academy LLC. We're here tonight for a variance of use for a dance school use in the C2 zoning district. This property is 8385 Wicker Avenue, directly across from Lake Central School. This use is permitted in the underlying C2 use. This also has the Route 41 overlay on top of it, and those uses are generally allowable as long as they're listed, but for whatever reason, this is not listed. So we have to come here for a variance of use to ask for the underlying use that's already allowable there. You follow that?
Yes.
Okay. So this use has been used in this building before for a dance academy. This is really personal lessons for things like ballet, tap, jazz, musical, and lyrical. There would be one person that they're teaching at any given time. There's no parking issues or otherwise. It's really kind of personal, maybe a couple parents watching. There's a realtor in this building right now, along with the martial arts. They meet at different times. Again, no parking conflicts or things like that.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Yep.
Days. How many students?
A couple at a time, usually one, but it could be a couple of friends receiving the same type of instruction, and then a couple of parents watching, but not much more than that.
So is barbershop, are they still there? Is a game shop, I think it's a toy store, or it was next to?
Not at that location. There's a realtor there, JK
Okay.
Pro Realty, and then there's also the martial arts studio that's in one of the units there.
Okay, thank you.
Currently. And again, with that, that's basically what our request is. We did the notices to property owners within 300 feet. We did the public notices in the paper. We also did the sign posting on the property for tonight's public hearing. I am happy to answer any other question, but I know you still got 3 more and it's past 9. So I'm going to shut up now.
Thank you. Any questions from the board to Mr. Kuiper?
I mean, my only concern was parking. There's only like 18, but it seems like he addressed that already.
Yeah.
Kuiper's on this game.
All right, give a seat real quick, Mr. Kuiper. We'll just open it up for public comment. Is anyone here to speak on behalf or for the Dance Academy at 8385 Wicker Avenue? Please step forward. If not, we don't have anybody, we'll close it down for public comment. Mr. Kuiper, come back up again. And if someone from the board has any questions or would like to make a motion in a favorable or not favorable regarding his request.
Adam, this is a recommendation, correct?
Yes, it is.
And this is the one where you do we did for?
There are 5 findings to.
It's right here. I got it.
There it is. Oh, you got lucky.
All right, I would like to make a favorable recommendation that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The need for the variance will not arise from a condition peculiar to the property, which is as follows, which would be the variances listed on the petition. Is that correct?
Well, so technically, what you're reading, you would provide those items if you were to read item 3 as the need for the variance will arise from some condition peculiar to the property, which is as follows. But you've read that in the negative, so there's no reason to list any items for that third.
Okay. And what's the fourth one here? That the applicant did or did not in this situation?
In this case, if it's an approval that the applicant did establish.
Yeah, did establish a strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variant is sought. And the petitioner has established the approval does not interfere substantially with comprehensive plan of the town of St. John.
With no contingencies.
With no contingencies.
We have a motion for favorable recommendation to the town council. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. And I'm
Thank you.
sorry, if I could ask one quick question. Will
Sure.
this be on the town council meeting next Wednesday?
Yes, it will. And if you would tell Katie, congratulations. I wish her much success in her endeavors. She was a fantastic instructor.
Thank you. She's here, but thank you. Oh, you're way in the back. I'm sorry, Kate.
Next on the agenda, 20 to 2207, developmental variance from St. John MC 24-346, St. John MC 24-347, and St. John MC 24-351 to impact lot width, setback, building square footage, building material, and to eliminate bicycle parking in the US 41 overlay district at 10630 Wicker Avenue, Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation, applicant owner Kevin Hunt, attorney. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Kevin Hunt on behalf of the Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation. We're up for a group of variances I've gone through with the Building Department Planning Commission to see what needs to get done. We are planning an expansion at the shrine. Got off to a start when we found out we had some issues we had to address. So in addition to being in front of the BZA, we're also in front of the Plan Commission seeking a 2-lot subdivision and site plan approval. Today, we would like to get approval for these variances. The new amenity being added to the shrine is a meditation garden, retail center, and a small plaza. It's going to essentially set up a peaceful environment for people to self-reflect after they've gone on the prayer trail. I'm not going to go into too much detail on kind of the background, but I can go into that later if needed. But I do want to go through, this is an US 41 overlay project. So one of the things that we need to do and keep in mind is that it's got to be a coordinated development with the neighboring surroundings, high standards for buildings and landscaping, and a substantial capital investment. The history of the shrine shows that all of its development will meet those requirements. So for the first item that we will be seeking a variance for, if you can tell, the plaza and the retail section, the new retail building, are set off US 41. The overlay district encourages people to build on the front, but there is I believe it's a town well and the Marion Shrine up in front, so it has to go and sit in back of US 41. So we would be seeking a variance for all those buildings to be set back. Additionally, this is a very wide parcel, or long parcel, because it goes all the way back to Bull Creek. Normally, the width can only be half the depth. We are seeking a variance for that. And also, much like many of the buildings on US 41, it will not meet the 15,000 square feet gross floor area, but it will be set off so you won't see the building as much as one that's on US 41. Additionally, it will be heavily landscaped. I believe those plans were submitted as well. There's a additional variance request for that, because the context is to bring you back 500 years in time. We would ask that we wouldn't have a bicycle rack sitting in front of any of the buildings.
Is that a requirement that we have?
It's part of the US 41 overlay that they provide bicycle parking.
And the final requirement, when I did meet with Sergio, I tried to come up with some creative ways to get around the building materials, but realistically, we're just going to seek a variance because this is meant to be a building that's 500 years old. It will be a cement-type plaster with an acrylic finish, meant to, with, as you can see, cedar posts sticking out and cedar shutters on the retail center there. So those are the developmental variances. After this hearing, there will be another use variance, but I'll address that separately. This time I can address any questions.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Hunt?
Yes, Mr. Hunt, so the site plan shows the retail business to the back of the one site. What is being proposed between the retail? I know there's some between the retail and US 41. Right now, I don't know if I've seen any additional drawings of what's being proposed there.
There.
So like right now, you can see, so from the retail shop, which is in the dark
Yes.
on the top, to US 41, I don't know if I'm familiar with any drawings. Is there additional parking?
No, at this time, it'll just be remaining ingress, egress for Lot 2. Yeah.
May I address the board? Frank Schilling.
Yes.
To that question, just want to make sure we probably didn't maybe explain it, but that building had, the access to that building, there will be a fence around the whole thing. People cannot access that building without going, you have to go through the prayer trail into that meditation area. And the reason why I felt we needed that building to put additional restrooms. There's gonna be 4 women's stalls, 4 men's, because they were asking to have it on the prayer trail, and I felt that was unsafe issue for last 6 years, that people use the restrooms before they go out on the prayer trail. But I felt when I built the plaza, that I felt that if I could build that building, I would be able to accommodate restrooms for more people. Just like Good Friday, there was, thousands and thousands of people there, and we put up portable potties. But I felt this structure would definitely service that also. That's one of the reasons. And the other reason is that the plaza, which a lot of people aren't aware of, but it's called Our Lady of Guadalupe Plaza. And we feel it's going to bring, thousands of people. So I felt I needed to build a building that would accommodate the restrooms. I wanted it to look like it was 500 years ago. People that aren't familiar, but in our faith, Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Mother of God, appeared to Juan Diego 500 years ago. So I wanted to build the plaza with a building that would complement that period of time.
Okay.
And there is no access to it from 41. You have to go through the main building, follow the trail, and then come around to it. It'd be completely fenced in, and I just wasn't sure if you understood that cars cannot pull up to it and actually, enter into that building.
You mentioned the fence. What kind of fencing are we talking
It'll
about?
be the same fence that that is around the Continental subdivision.
Okay.
There
with that.
there will be gates that open up for fire trucks to go through.
Okay.
It'll be really heavy landscape, as you well know, the way, well, possibly not, but the way we've done it at the shrine in the past with berms, and we actually like to keep it more hidden from 41 in a way, no different than we did most of it, except for when we did build the, what do you call it, Pilate's Court. We did not berm it because we didn't want people on 41 to see that structure, which represents 2,000 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
for various reasons, we created a two-lot subdivision, but it is essentially just an additional amenity attraction for the main shrine.
So what view is that? Is that looking west?
That is from US 41 looking west.
Okay.
Looking up towards the church.
So again, Kevin, I mean, it's a,
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're looking west.
They're looking west.
West, yeah.
It's the east view.
so I'm just trying to see what the vision is between that fence line and US 41. I mean, is it more parking potentially for the shrine itself? Is it,
Yes, like Good Friday, there was approximately 300 cars parked in front of that and to the north.
so you would potentially in this site plan be adding additional parking spots?
Well, it holds 300 now, and normally throughout the week, we have about 90 parking spaces in front of the original building and behind the original building. Now, the parking to the north, it holds 300 cars, but the only time that ever would be used is like Good Friday,
And that,
you know.
that is hopefully temporary. I know a few people have seen the concept plan for the land to the north.
Oh,
So
no, I'm just talking I understand we're saying north. I'm just trying to get a feel for between the facility there in Gray to 41. There's that,
So I'll explain that now.
I'm just trying to find out, is that gonna be additional park? I haven't seen any,
Yeah, at the moment, it's still, I believe it's just asphalt grinding, correct?
Correct.
The plan would be that road would become an interior road that leads to another interior road to commercial development to the north.
okay, so no additional stripe parking?
No.
Okay.
So the hope would be that
Well,
it ties in,
Not at this time, okay.
yeah, so.
But in the future, you might have asphalt parking in that,
Oh, definitely.
okay.
Yeah, so.
In this parcel we're talking about right here, not to the north?
To the north, well, to the north, you're going to have potential parking, overflow parking for the shrine if a commercial development project goes forward. With the road coming down, with and potential exit, all that is subject to plan commission approval, a lot more steps, but we want to leave that open for future commercial development.
So just,
So you'd have an access road from the well going north possibly to your future development, the plan in the future. You'd eliminate that access that you have, that the town has.
Well, it's, the town needs the
Right.
right for the well.
Right.
So they'll.
You would
maintain-
provide it through your future development.
Correct.
Okay.
just so the board knows where I'm trying to go with this, maybe I'm just say it out loud. So I don't know what the site plan between US 41 to the building is. We don't know what it is. Is it going to be an access road? Is it going to be future asphalt parking? The only thing that I'm looking at here on these variants is that if there's going to be future park, I understand they don't want to put a bike rack back by that building. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. But if they're going to have 12-foot parking lanes there, could they put a bike rack there? I mean, I know we're getting down to the weeds, but we don't know if there's going to be future parking there. If there's going to be future parking there, I think it would be very simple to put a very artistic kind of bike rack, and that's all I'm going to with.
But wouldn't that
The other stuff, we can
Yeah,
move
but
forward.
Wouldn't that
but-
be addressed when they come in with whatever they decide?
No, if we give a variance right now, it's for the whole site.
For,
Isn't it all the way to the,
for that site, for lot 2, that site.
Like, we're only talking about lot 2.
Yeah.
but no, that's for the,
Well, that's part of lot 2, though, that little
that's,
area there,
that,
right?
that L shape, flag shape is at lot 2. So it's all the way out to 41.
So this is all inclusive.
So if they
to
start,
this.
so that's the only thing on this variance, that if that becomes future parking in that northern vertical strip or strip, that if they do put parking in there, that could a bike rack. So if we give a variance today that no bike rack is required and they put parking there, which would be a more logistical place to put a bike rack versus up against that building, they would
I
not be
wouldn't want it
required
next to
to.
the building, it would look silly.
It would look silly, and I totally agree with that.
Um,
But if they put parking between 41 and this building, that would be a more logistical, logical place to put a bike rack. The other stuff is pretty understandable to me,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just don't want to be a pain in the butt, but that's my
Late.
only question. I know, too late, sorry. So, all right.
We would put, if you want a bike rack, we will.
No, we're
Mr.
not-
Mr. Schilling, here's my only comment. If in some future, like right now, if we give you a variance for a bike rack, that means at some future, and Sergio, if I go too far, slap me. At some future date, you are not required then at any time to put a bike rack on that lot. But if some future date you decide to put parking there for the people that, I love to go there. It's a beautiful, you've done a great job for the town.
Yes.
But if you put parking there, it's a logical place to potentially put a bike rack, right?
Okay,
But
here's one of the reasons why we will do it. But what we don't see, once the store closes, the back parking lot, can you show me the back parking lot?
Sergio, can you pan south a little bit there? Yeah.
We open the gate, once the store closes, we still want people to come and meditate and go through the whole, so we open the back gate of.
Oh, Sergio's got control of that over there,
Okay.
Mr. Schilling.
The gate. That gate opens when the store closes at 5 o'clock, allowing anyone to park in the back and walk it. I just feel that if we did put a bike rack in, it's gonna encourage people to ride their bike up the trail. And we do see it every once in a while, you know, it's a shame, but I just feel that if they physically see a bike rack, it's just gonna encourage them to ride a bike up and down the trail, but, you know, we,
Okay.
Yep, you got a good point.
I agree.
Yes. I agree there as well.
Okay, sorry, gentlemen, that's all I had.
Any other comments from the board, questions?
No,
Mr. Schilling or Mr. Hunt?
I think it looks great.
Would agree. Gentlemen, have a seat for just a moment, and then we're open up for public comment. Is there anyone here would has a like to make a comment regarding the proposed variance at Marion Wayside Shrine? No? Have we received any authorizations regarding this, Sergio?
We have not.
Thank you. Gentlemen? With that,
Well done.
Go right to hell.
Well done.
would someone like to make a motion regarding this,
Mr. Decker, individually?
I think it probably is appropriate. There's a
Okay.
number of items, and I believe it affects both lots. Two parcel IDs, but you don't have to identify the two lots, but just for edification, but.
For clarification,
Yes.
it is, the site plan is meant for Lot 2. It was the same site plan, though, we're in front of the planning commission with a two-lot subdivision. So, my apologies for that.
That's all right. But yes, I would suggest you do them individually.
And sorry, gentlemen, one other question. The building material is not the same of what is required in the US 41 overlay district. We're trying to create a sense of place along US 41 as nice as we can be, just as nice as you're trying to make this facility here. You said there's going to be extensive landscaping. Will you be able to see the facility once the landscaping is mature off of 41? Or if so, is there opportunity to increase the density of the landscaping to minimize I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? You're trying to probably promote the facility, but at the same time,
Well, not really from 41, promoting it from inside the plaza. In other words, I wanted the building to go with the feeling of 500
Time period.
years ago.
yeah,
So, I mean, we did, we bermed the whole, how far did we berm? We already bermed it.
I did go out to the site today. There's a for the proposed development, the berm is there with the arborvitae, covering where you can kind of see an L shape, dark green. That is a berm. You really can't see into the plaza or the small chapel. You can see right now to what would be the retail center. However, there will be heavy landscaping. How much you'll be able to see exactly, I don't know. There will be tall reed grasses. There will be some evergreens. I'm
If
sure
you-
we
if
can
you-
work on
If you want a
the
berm,
landscaping.
I'm one for berms anyway.
okay.
If you want a berm.
when we get to that, I'll make a contingency. If you guys are comfortable with it, we'll open it up for discussion, okay?
I'd like to add just one more point, going back to the bike rack. I kind of agree with your original position as far as having a bike rack and not blocking that out, and perhaps maybe maybe not to enforce that at this point, but respectfully, if it was put on, located at a place right before the walking path, to where somebody would, because I don't know if that would be a deterrent if there was no bike rack, that nobody would still, take their bike on the path. So perhaps like at the entrance of the walking path, no sign that states no bicycles beyond this point with a bike rack, so then they can actually have a place to store their bike and then walk.
I believe we already have those signs up. That has not-
doesn't stop them. I've been out there, they're bikes and skateboards, so.
It's fine. It does, if you want it, fine. I probably have 50 signs up, no climbing on the rocks and just.
What I would
Can't keep 'em
suggest
off.
is that maybe there's a contingency that no bike rack for the current development. Any proposed change, that variance would not be applicable to without BZA approval.
Kevin, I would go if there's parking there. If at the future site plan includes parking at some future date, keep the bike rack there.
And that
we-
north part of the property, that's where I wouldn't put anywhere near the.
No,
that
no, no,
area.
no, right.
Put as far north as you can get it, and so that it's there, but it's not.
Adam, do you heard his contingency? If, he did it much more legally nice than I probably would ever do, so would you be agreeable to that if some future development, they would have to come back for the variance for the, I would just say the contingency, if parking goes in there, they gotta put a bike rack. That would be my contingency.
Yeah, or a condition, right.
Condition,
The
okay.
approval that if and I mean, I think you should probably.
Just one.
I think we're talking about lot 2.
Lot 2, but that section close from 41 back towards the build site.
Okay.
All of
right,
these
so-
variants are just for lot 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
That's
So,
correct.
we're, for lot 2, if that's going to be a future parking spot, any part of that part of lot 2, then yes, you can condition it that the bike racks be
Okay.
installed in that.
Up in that
condition.
location.
Schilling, are you guys,
Yeah.
okay.
We're good with that.
And I agree with you. I don't want people skateboarding and biking either, but at the same time, we're trying to be a more walkable, less traffic community, so if we can do it, it's great. Okay. If anyone's good with me going, I'll go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is for development variance. I'm going to individually one, section 2436. This is for building to be set back off edge of parcel due to Marion Shrine. So be set back off parcel. This is development variance for Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the adjacent area to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse matter, and the strict application, am I reading the wrong one?
No, you're reading this, there's two, so that's the second version.
Okay, and the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. There are no contingencies for this variance.
Is that it?
Yep,
That's
that's it.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll
We have a-
second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. So that was the first one.
Yes, the next one, I will make a recommendation to approve the development variance for section 2434-346 for Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation parcel with less than half depth of parcel, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the adjacent area of the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. There are no contingencies.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Next, I'll make a recommendation for approval of the development of variance for section 24-346, building to have 3,752 square feet of floor area for the Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation, that the variance, or that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
A
There are
motion.
no contingencies.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will make a motion to approve development of variance for, section 24-347. This is for the and Adam and Sergio, make sure I'm doing this right, bicycle parking area. So it is gonna be potentially in a parking area. So how would I word this? Right now, based on the petition I'm seeing, it says no bicycle parking area. But what we're saying, if that site develops into, the remaining parcel of that site develops into a parking lot, that they would be required to put a bicycle rack. So how should I state that so we understand it?
Well, you'll identify the 3 findings, and then you'll say the following conditions are made a part of this motion, that if any part of lot 2 between the Adobe structure and US 41 is used for, becomes a paved asphalt parking surface, that bicycle parking area be required.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the development variance for the Marion Wayside Shrine, section 24-347, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the adjacent area to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in use of the property. The following condition, that if the remaining parcel of Lot 2 or a portion of Lot 2 becomes a paved parking lot, that a bike rack will be required.
Between the Adobe
Building and US 41.
And US 41.
Mr. Schilling, are you guys good with that?
Correct.
Okay. That is my only condition for that variance.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay.
I will make a motion to approve a development variance for the building to have Adobe-type exterior material, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the adjacent area to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially advanced manner, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties for the use of the property. And Kevin, Mr. Schilling, just want to make sure we're good, that a berm and additional landscaping or additional buffering will be installed to minimize or reduce visibility of the facility
From US 41.
from US 41. Yeah, so we're talking not to the north side of the lot. Well, no, as much as you can, yeah, Yeah.
To the east.
yeah. Okay,
That's it?
that is my only condition.
Okay. All, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, someone else can do the next one. Oh, this one's an easy one. I can do this one.
So now, do we cover both the
No,
G
we
and
got-
the H, or we just do the G?
We just did the G. We still got to do the H.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Stay right where you're at.
Now, is this this is a recommendation, correct?
Use variance, yes. 2002-08, use variance from SJMC 24-342 in sequence to SJMC 2445 to allow use of the outdoor amusement establishment, meditation garden, walking path, and welcome center in the US 41 overlay district at 10630 Wicker Avenue, Marion Wayside Foundation, Inc. Mr. Hunt.
Kevin Hunt on behalf of Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation. This is, again, the same site. We're in a US 41 overlay district. The site has been there prior to the existence of the zoning ordinance in the US 41 overlay district. When we went to clean up the site plan, we realized we'd have an issue with a use variance. So despite being grandfathered in, an expansion wasn't necessarily going to be allowed. So I sat down with the planning and building department and tried to find the best potential use for the shrine. And that's why we're petitioning today for a favorable recommendation for an outdoor amusement establishment use for the shrine. It's a bit of a walking museum, but that's not a use in the zoning ordinance. So that's about as close as we could get.
So, question, Mr. Chairman. Sergio, what other activities would be allowed in here with this zoning change or verification?
They've identified meditation gardens, walking paths, welcome center. I mean, that's what it's,
But in our book, I mean, would a carnival be able to be put there or a
whatever
sports
would be
arena?
identified as a outdoor amusement as part of the use variance. You can tie the conditions
Okay.
or contingencies to that use, which identified as walking paths, meditation garden, welcome center.
And Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
the town zoning ordinance defines outdoor amusement establishment to mean uses including but not limited to theaters, raceways, music arenas, theme parks, amusement parks, miniature golf, water slides, batting cages, go-kart courses, and skateboarding courses. You may impose whatever, restrictions or conditions on, approval of
Okay.
request.
I'm just going to have Mr. Schilling
Any
tell me
plans
he's
for any of
never
those
leaving.
activities on the property?
No, no, no. So we're going to continue using the shrine as it's been used in the past. I don't know the best way to, no intention for water slides or batting cages. So we'll try and, if there's a need to limit it, we can look into.
No,
However,
I was just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what was.
So I don't want, I understand not wanting an open-ended.
Is this going to follow that property
Follows the
in
property,
perpetuity? So that's why we're trying to, so you have.
Well, I hope it never changes. So
Well, I hope it never changes either, but, our lifetimes, you never know what's going to happen next, so that's why we're going to put that in there. Make a motion, Mr. Kennedy.
Does anybody want to contingency based on what Adam Decker said to restrict those activities?
No.
Can we limit it to just
Meditation.
You can restrict the permitted use to whatever you think is reasonable under the circumstances.
Okay, Kevin, Mr. Schilling, are you comfortable with that?
So the issue is that this use variance is for essentially both the lots, because it's for the entire shrine. So the shrine was built in 2006, roughly?
It opened December 2007.
Yeah. So I believe that was before the US 41 overlay district was set forth. So what we'd like is just, because we're moving lines, and we'd like essentially reapproval of grandfathered use. So it's for, I guess, shrine-related activities. I don't want to be too limiting, but at the same time, I don't want it too broad. So I'm trying to find something that everyone's comfortable with. But we will continue to.
Let's ask this question. What purposes are we thinking down the road? I mean, is there something that you're thinking about using that property for? I mean, we talk about meditation and what have you. I mean, the way it's suited right now, I can't see you guys doing anything outside of what's already there as far as activities.
It'll be continued activities. I can't say that there'll never be another addition or change to the shrine, but those we'll deal with those.
Certainly nothing planned, but, there are occasions that, when it comes to a spiritual journey, that, and I say, even in a church, every once in a while, there'll be spiritual singing.
I don't think we're trying to eliminate
No,
that.
we're just, Mr. Schilling, we don't ever expect it to happen, but if something unforeseen happens, and someone comes in and buys this, they could put a big water slide park there.
Oh, no.
And we know but we're just trying to protect the long-term integrity of the town of St. John. So trying to accomplish what you're trying to do and just.
Correct. There likely will be small church gatherings. We've had those.
We've had different churches like Faith Church, Living Stones and Crown Point. I'm trying to get people of all faiths to come there and share in their music,
Yeah, we don't want to restrict a pavilion so music can be played, but we're trying to think of those far out that would be allowed, like rodeos and stuff like that.
At the moment, there's no further expansions planned. It wouldn't be the first time that
Okay.
Mr. Schilling walks into my office the next day and says, I changed my mind, but.
Well, I guess we just make a recommendation to the council. The council, after maybe reviewing what is allowed in a amusement park.
They have different.
They might want to add some restrictions to
the only things that I see listed in the definition that I would want to limit somewhat is that, to the extent theater, we may have reenactments. It's essentially the prayer trails of virtual reenactment. We're not going to have a music arena, but we may have religious musical performances. But we're not going to have amusement parks, mini golf, water slide, batting cages, go-karts, skateboarding. So essentially, any of its current activities, including the planned expansions, If we need to come in for a future use variance for something else, we can deal with that.
Okay.
I think we're okay with it not being open-ended, but
Something within the context of its current use, would you say?
Mhm. Or associated, yeah. Sergio, Adam, could the condition be that it maintains within its current type of use? I mean, would that, or I could start listing amusement parks, skate parks, miniature golf, batting cages. But again, I don't, you know.
What happens if you miss one?
I know. Or are we just getting into the
we
weeds and
identify
it's
it as
9:45 and we
uses
should
that
just,
support the shrine activities, I would think.
Yeah,
Okay.
that seems like a reasonable.
I'm sorry.
shrine religious activity, or I mean, I don't want to, you know, religious activities are so many different, so shrine activities?
Shrine-related activities.
We'll make a recommendation, the council will make the final determination, so, I mean, if,
Yeah.
yeah, so long as it includes the planned activities at the to-be-finished site plan with the plaza, the meditation garden.
oh yeah, that's already included in the, we would consider that shrine activities. But I will add that plan activities for the, okay. Board, is there any other conditions or contingencies that they would like?
Not that I can think of, John. I think you've covered quite a few of them, and Mr. Decker as well.
Okay. I will make a recommendation, a favorable recommendation for the finding of facts for a zone appeals variance for the Marion Wayside Shrine Foundation. That the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in any substantially adverse manner. The need for the variance will arise from the condition particular to the property, which, okay, I don't have to repeat that, will not arise. The applicant did establish that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. The petitioner has established the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan of the town of St. John with the following condition, that the activities in this variance or finding will be associated with the current activities of the shrine and the planned activities of the Marion Wayfind Shrine Foundation.
Agree with that.
All right?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I can second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Will
Thank
that
you.
will that be on Wednesday meeting?
What?
For the town council?
That is the current game plan, yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
And we'll be in front of the plan commission on Wednesday.
See you then.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
So there might be more. It's already 5 pages.
What?
The agenda is 5 pages.
Okay. Next on the agenda, 2002-09, development variance from St. John MC 2002-09, development variance from St. John MC 24.
Wow, they made it through.
-520 in sequence to St. John MC 24-516E1 to construct a fence 6 feet behind the sidewalk on the corner lot and encroach into the vision triangle at 8284 West 105th Avenue. Scott Betterdorf? Bieterdorf. Thank you. Sorry about that. Peter Wolf. Sorry. Been a long day.
It's all right. Yeah, I'm Scott Biederwolf. This is my wife, Christy Biederwolf. I wish we were opening up like a tanning salon or a nail studio. Out of here quickly, right? But the fun old corner lot variance for a fence. So we're seeking a variance on lot 953 at 8284 West 105th to extend our fence 15 feet from the home line. So this will allow the fence to be perpendicular as opposed to an angle. And the fence would invade the visual clearance about 32 square feet total. So it'd be about 5 feet to the east and 13 feet to the north. Two young kids, just moved into the area end of December, looking for a little bit of privacy and safety for our children and our 105-pound lab.
So is this the one with the HOA issue?
Yeah, so we did receive a letter from the HOA.
Okay, and
So like, Mr. Chairman, just like
Yes.
this one, their house is right on the building line. So you heard what we
Mm-hmm.
did with the previous. So this one, I would be more willing to move off the building line, right? Here's an example where it's right on the building line. It doesn't make logical sense to put it right on, right? But again, trying to set some standards, you do have a 10-foot easement that would then be the next, just like in the last one, it was 20-foot setback and then there was a 15-foot. So trying to figure out that happy medium as how we set those standards is, in this situation, I might say, well, let's just go back to the easement line of 10 feet, which they would lose, what they're proposing now, 3.5 feet. But it's more than what we've proposed in previous one of right on the building line.
Mhm.
Because it is literally, would not be appropriate to put that one on the building line.
No, it would completely ruin our patio.
No, I agree. But unfortunately, I would tell you that the contingency would be on the HOA approval of this potentially,
Mhm.
if you're acceptable, to a new location of, to the easement line. But, because unfortunately, we can't give you a building permit unless the HOA agrees.
We understand that. So we did speak with the HOA today, and we understand, you know, with the secretary, you know, that they want to keep the aesthetic of the neighborhood. In our defense, they blindly disapproved of the variance without understanding exactly the final plans for the fence. And the reason that they stated was that they are under a lot of litigation right now, and that we didn't come to them first, and that they have more power than the city of St. John. So it seemed very spiteful, and there's other fences in the gates of St. John that have the same exact fence on a corner lot that are closer to the sidewalk than what we're proposing. They seem offended that we did not go to them first, whereas we assumed that the city of St. John would trump any HOA association. It says nowhere in the covenants that we cannot have a fence, and that it doesn't say that we can't have a fence anywhere within any sort of distance from a sidewalk. So they were disapproving it based off of nothing, essentially. So we were told that we can go to the, the ARC to ask for approval if we were able to get just preliminary approval from you all for the variance, which is what we intend to do.
And it's all because it's a PUD. We require PUDs to have covenants in them. So when we approve a PUD, you have to put a covenant in it.
Mhm.
And it would, you know, we create those covenants with the developer, so
Sure.
that's how it works.
You had stated that because of the easement, are we able, though, to file a easement waiver, or is that, I just want to make sure I understand.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to set consistencies with this board. So if we're not going to the building line, the next line is the easement line, which is 10 feet off the sidewalk.
But as long as we're not encroaching on the visual clearance triangle,
You can go 8 feet, I believe, off the sidewalk, correct, Sergio? 8 feet?
As long as it doesn't encroach into the vision triangle, correct?
our whole defense was we didn't want to go 10 feet out and then have our fence on an angle.
No, understand.
And then cut it across. We're just trying to think aesthetically.
Yeah, it's
What would make
a
sense?
difference of 2 feet, and it would look a lot nicer, especially in a covenants that is all about keeping it aesthetically appealing, right? So if we go around that and don't need the variance, we're gonna have a fence that's gonna cut like this, and it's gonna look weird. I mean,
And what type of fence? I didn't see
it's a
material.
6-foot PVC white per our covenants.
Not the aluminum where you can see through?
You
Okay.
can't do that. Yeah, it has to be PVC on the corner lot.
Okay.
because we have different covenants than the main covenants, because we're in Prairie Gate, which is which is the McFarland Homes.
No more questions, Mr. Chairman?
No, I don't have any
Pictures there
questions.
that show we're very far removed back from, yeah, you can see. Right.
Kind of shows where I do not have a fancy
Mhm.
CAD. Just kind of show you how far back we are from the stop sign.
The intersection.
Because our fence does have to start at the rear back.
Okay. So I'm confused by something here. So the HOA, so we still, Mr. Decker and Sergio, do we have to wait on approval from the HOA prior to us, or?
We do not need to wait approval from the HOA. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-jurisdictional body that takes action upon the municipal codes themselves.
Okay.
The HOA, and my understanding is that the town will not be able to issue out a building permit unless it is approved by the HOA, though.
Okay. Make sure I had that correct. Any other questions from the board? Receive any other remonstrance besides the one from the HOA?
Just the one from the HOA.
Okay. We need to read that into
I can read it into the
okay.
record, too.
Thank you.
Received a letter from the HOA signed by Nicole Jefferson, property manager, identified as property manager. It says, "Dear Mr. Mendoza, it has come to the attention of the Gates of St. John Homeowners Association by receipt of legal notice of public hearing indicated the formal request to allow a fence within 20 feet of the public walkway or sidewalk. That the above captioned homeowner has petitioned the BZA for developmental variance. Be advised that this property is located within the Gates of St. John and is subject to the covenants and restrictions governing the same, and no request was made of the HOA to allow for the fence installation. Further, it is the position of the HOA that the request would be denied if made. Therefore, given the foregoing, please inform the members of the Board of Zoning Appeals that when this request is made of the HOA, it will be denied, and if installed, the HOA will pursue all legal remedies to have same removed. Thank you for your time and attention to this correspondence. If you have any questions, please contact the undersigned."
Just a little bit. Thank you.
And if I could speak to that for a second, so
Please.
our HOA covenants does not say anything about the inability of us to construct a fence or where it can or cannot be placed per the covenants of the Gates of St. John. When we were going through this process, we assumed incorrectly by the HOA standards that in order for us to even get approval from them, that we would first need to get approval from the city of St. John to apply for the variance. So we didn't want to seek approval from the HOA until we had your all approval. However, I think it reads very clear that they're denying it because we did not go to them first.
Does it say they denied it?
They actually have not told us, because we did
Okay.
submit last week. I spoke to Nicole this morning, and she told me that our next step was,
We denied if request to be made. Okay.
but she didn't understand
What they were asking for?
32 square foot area.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they were the ARC members because of, they own some of the properties that are within the 300-foot radius. They could have come today to speak. We did try to reach them to have a conversation, but we were told everything has to go via email through.
Gotcha. Okay. We're open for public comment, but there's no one else here, so is there somebody online or something that I don't know about? So we'll open and close that, bring it back to the board. Does anyone want to make a motion regarding the Beater Wolf. Did I say that right this time?
Beater Wolf, yeah,
Thank
you
you.
got it.
Petition for a variance for their fence. Or any other questions that may?
I have just one as a point
Yes.
of clarification as you consider the motion. You said that there are no covenants that restrict fencing. Is that correct?
Covenants
Yeah, we have
don't
it here.
have any restrictions per a corner lot or anything. It just states. It says cyclone or wood fencing are prohibited. All fence shall be self-maintaining or maintenance-free and installed on the property line except where installed on the interior of a lot. Fences and hedges may not be installed in required front or side yards. They're prohibited along Park Place. You cannot have courtyard aluminum fence with rings. Those are only allowed on Joliet, Klein, and Parrish in approved areas. Prior to construction, they must all be approved by the ARC. All pads developed after the recording of this shall have uniform fence color and material approved by the ARC for each pad. And they have to be located on the lot line. And then for our pad, for our particular lot, because we're lot 953, we may install white PVC fencing, which is 6 foot tall with 8 foot wide side panels and 5-inch posts offered by Trimax 2 Digger Specialties or equivalent. It states where fences are prohibited if they're adjoining the water areas. However, you can have a dog run. And then certain lots, it says, may only install black aluminum fences. And then once the residence constructed, we just need to get the modifications, and everything must be approved by the ARC prior to construction, and improvements must be approved by the ARC prior to construction.
Looks like
That's
it
all they
clears.
have.
I mean, I certainly can't advise you as to the legality of it, but, you know, when they sent us a letter that says they're going to deny it, I just found that kind of odd, that's all.
We did as well.
Yeah.
You know, we made the purchase of this property on that lot, having read the HOA covenants, and from our understanding of it, there's no reason why they should have denied it, especially when it's very black and white in this.
I don't want, you know, it'd be unfortunate if you get into a legal battle with them over that. That was my whole point.
Well, we just wanted to be able to come and say, we did get the variance, this is what we want to do, but I don't think they even understand what the variance is. I don't think they understand that we're asking really just to have the fence on 32 square feet, like we're asking to extend it so the fence is perpendicular, not angular, because technically with the visual triangle, we could have the fence and the gate, and then we would go off on an angle, and then we could have it going back.
Yeah.
And she's understanding it a little bit too. She spoke with somebody that works for Nicole, and Nicole said, oh, she just disapproved it because we're in litigation right now with 5 other people in the area, and we don't want to deal with it. So.
They have 3,000 residences, and there's a lot of litigation. And so we said we were just trying to actually do the proper chain of command, because if we weren't approved for the variance, then we weren't going to apply for the fence to look.
See an idea?
We weren't trying to go behind anyone's back.
No, it can be confusing.
Scott, Christie, how did you come up with the distance to 6.5 feet off the sidewalk? Or why did you choose that?
Just so, kind of like you said, with bikes, like falling and giving people, we have a dog, a large dog, and just not having people have to butt right up against it in order to make it easier for snow removal. We just thought with a safety issue, it would give people walking an opportunity and also just allow for more visual.
And just that allows us to maximize our backyard space, but not be like right up butt against the sidewalk, which I think is visually not the best looking.
So, and here, guys, here's my concern again. You have neighbors, you got neighbors to your north that don't have a fence currently. So potentially, they're gonna see a 6.5 foot fence off the sidewalk, so they're gonna potentially wanna tie into that same distance. So again, setting a standard, and they might, I don't know if they're on a corner lot, so they might not be on the same. They're not, so.
They're gonna do a white fence, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're getting 6.5 feet. I read that as 65 feet.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I was wondering.
I was 6,
It's an 81-foot fence, too, so it's really
65
tall.
feet.
Yeah, sorry. I thought it was 6.5 feet off the property. Okay,
It would be about 5.5.
5.5 feet.
Because
Thank
from
you.
our actual-
You're doing the distance, sorry.
On either side of the
From our
gate.
concrete slab to the sidewalk, I double checked and measured today.
Got it.
And it's a little bit over 20.5 feet.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Again, just for consistency, I would like to recommend, I would suggest going off that easement line. They might not even need the visual triangle if my linear lines are straight. If they go back to that easement off the property line, the building line, and they do a straight line from the back of the lot to the front of the house, that potentially would clear, and they wouldn't even need our variance, potentially. Again, that's going off of what I hope is a straight line. And again, it sets a precedent where, we're not picking 5.5 feet, 7 feet, it's,
That's moving it in, what, about 2 feet?
Yeah.
and if I'm doing the straight line, you might not even need to be here tonight.
I agree with that, and.
Can we still apply for the utility easement for the back of the lot, since that's 15 feet? Because we have a utility easement on the side and the back.
Well, this variance is only required because of the
The visual. Correct. Right?
visual, so I don't,
Go up to your property line, otherwise can't.
I think you can go all the way back to your,
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just the visual.
so again, this is please don't hold what I'm saying, but just how I just drew it right now, if you went to off your building line to that existing easement, and if you draw a line from the front of the house to the back of the lot, you potentially just clear.
Be close, you'll be,
That's what I got.
so I would,
Like it's it's a matter of a mathematical calculation.
it's a mathematical calculation that
Oh,
we
sorry.
cannot, that this board cannot do tonight, and I think it would be in best interest if they have their contractor, if this board approves along the 10-foot easement, if the variance is granted, so in case they do encroach into it, it's really close, but you want to, I think you'd want to cite on the side of error for them on the 10-foot easement.
Okay.
Do we have someone like to make a motion regarding the Mayor Wolf's request?
You have the sheet.
Right there.
Scott, Chrissy, before I read this, are you comfortable with what my condition would be?
Mhm.
So you're currently gonna stay off the back of your house and this go out to the 10-foot easement line? Okay, and then you'll have it verified if this variance is even necessary. Okay, thank you. I will make a recommendation to approve a development variance for Scott and Chrissy.
sorry.
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say Scott.
Mr. Kennedy,
Oh.
this is not a recommendation. This is a.
To approve. I'm sorry, did I
development
say-
variance, which is right,
I'm
approval.
sorry.
Right.
Make a motion to approve the development variance petition for 8284 West 105th Avenue, St. John, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. I'm sorry. So I'm going back before I go here. It is a white 6-foot fence, right?
Mhm.
No one has an issue with the fence. Now it's going to be
That's the
minimal.
recommendation their HOA has.
That's their HOA.
Yeah, and I'm just worried about the sightline visit. If it still needs a it's going to be minimum at that time.
I don't think you're going to have that,
Okay.
with that triangle is going to be.
Okay, yeah. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property with the following condition: that the fence will come off the rear corner of the house to the 10-foot utility easement. That is the condition.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Good
Wish
luck.
you luck. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your patience.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We are excited for some of the things coming.
Okay,
No, that's the first part of the battle here.
Next on the agenda, new old business. I don't think we have any. I don't think we do. Anybody have anything they have to say there? John, what are you trying to do over there?
I'm trying to turn this off. Are we done?
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry.
We're open for public comment. Up and closed. We're okay for adjournment. Go ahead if you're excited.